After failing the college entrance exam, I married Gu Lin and devoted 40 hard years to managing his household, yet after his death, he barred me from attending his funeral, dividing his estate equally between our children and his lifelong sweetheart. All he left me was a single sentence: consider those 40 years as repayment for the stolen university admission letter. Turns out I never actually failed the exam. He stole my admission letter to curry favor with his precious white Moonlight. I caused a scene at the funeral, pouring out 40 years of injustice, only to be shunned by my own children. Dad and Aunt Lin were meant to be. You were the one who meddled and ruined everything. Keep this up, and don't blame us for dumping you in the countryside to fend for yourself. I died of sheer rage, only to open my eyes and find myself back in my college entrance exam year. The acceptance letter was still en route, and my life had barely begun. Su Hanmei. We're about to get married. What's this tantrum about? The familiar scolding voice snapped me out of my dazed confusion instantly. I can't believe I've gone back 40 years. Before marrying Gu Lin, before he stole my college acceptance letter. There's still time to change everything. Gu Lin kept yammering away in front of me. It's just a bowl of meat. Are you gonna die without it? I've told you I only see Jiao Jiao as a sister. Must you always think the worst of us? Keep this up and we might as well call off the wedding. Suppressing my emotions, I replied coldly, then let's not get married. Those few words froze Gu Lin in his tracks. Su Hanmei, what are you saying? I said let's call it off then. I snatched the meat from Gu Lin's hands, suppressing the murderous rage in my heart. A spineless coward who'd feed his own fiancé to others, as if I'd ever want to marry you. Seeing me about to leave, Gu Lin grabbed me in a fury. Su Hanmei. What exactly do you mean by this? Who else would marry you if not me? With brains like yours, you really think you're some Jiao Jiao who can get into college? Get real, or I won't even want you when you come begging to marry me later. Slap. I slapped Gu Lin hard across the face, glaring at him fiercely as I spoke. Listen well, Gu Lin, Su Hanmei, want nothing to do with a man who can't keep his hands to himself. Before he could react, I grabbed the bowl of meat and stormed off. The stinging pain in my palm kept reminding me, this was all painfully real. I've truly been reborn. In my past life, my grandfather never forgot how old man Gu saved his life. On his deathbed, he made my parents promise that if I failed college entrance exams, I'd marry Gu Lin. Remembering my parents' expectations, I studied day and night, only to receive news of my exam failure. Devastated, I drifted into marriage with Gu Lin in a daze. For 40 long years, I nursed Gu Lin's terminally ill mother, raised his siblings, and shouldered every household chore. I believed my sacrifices meant something, until Gu Lin barred me from his funeral, leaving everything to his children and that woman he'd been entangled with for decades. He admitted marrying me was just guilt over stealing my college acceptance letter. On his deathbed, he still claimed he owed me nothing. I should have gone to college, built my own career and started a new life. Yet he ruined my entire existence, for decades of backbreaking labor that left me gravely ill, and had the gall to say I'd lived the good life. Just thinking about it makes me want to grind Gu Lin's bones to dust. I rushed to the village post station, anxiously asking if the admission letter had arrived. Uncle Wang waved his fan dismissively and said, "Why does everyone keep asking me, when such joyful news as admission letters arrive? I'll naturally let you all know, just you wait, Hanmei girl." One by one, I quickly sensed something amiss and pressed further. "Uncle Wang, you said people came asking one after another. Who else inquired?" Uncle Wang gave me a puzzled look before teasing again. "Who else could it be? Just Gu Lin and Jiqing Lin. Didn't Jiqing Lin take the exams the same year as you? Gu Lin's probably still thinking about you. He said he'd wait years if you got in, but would file marriage papers immediately if you didn't to make things official. See how devoted he is to you, Hanmei girl. Now there's a fine young man." My fingers clenched unconsciously. Gu Lin played his part so well in public, everyone believed he was utterly devoted to me. No one in my past life could have imagined Gu Lin would stoop so low as to steal my admission letter for Lin Jiao. At this thought, I lowered my head, feeling my eyes grow moist. "Uncle Wang, could I ask you for a favor? Please don't let Gu Lin take my things anymore." You wouldn't believe it, he actually snatched the meat my mom made for me and gave it to Lin Jiao today, said she needed it more because she's frail, then had the nerve to call me a country bumpkin who can't appreciate fine food, like I'd waste it. Uncle Wang slammed his fan on the table, eyes blazing, and barked, What kind of nonsense is Gu Lin spouting? What's wrong with rural areas? Laborers deserve utmost respect. Why should you give away meat that's rightfully yours? No way, I'm going to have a serious talk with his mother about this. I quickly grabbed Uncle Wang's arm, putting on an aggrieved expression. That won't be necessary. Aunt Gu's health is fragile. What if she gets seriously upset? But he takes everything openly. Who knows how much more has been secretly given away behind my back. That's why I was hoping Uncle Wang could keep an extra eye out for me. From now on, don't give anything addressed to me to anyone else, no exceptions. Perfect timing. Consider this bowl of meat as thanks for troubling you, Uncle Wang. Uncle Wang tried to refuse, but after my persistent urging, he finally accepted. With that worry off my mind, I carried the empty bowl back home. The moment I stepped inside, my parents gasped at the empty bowl in my hands. "Hanmei, you finished eating already?" Setting the bowl down, I shook my head. "No, I gave it to Uncle Wang." Just as Mom was about to speak, an angry voice suddenly cut through the air. "Su Hanmei, what do you mean by that? What right did you have to give that meat to Uncle Wang?" I turned around and scoffed. "Since when do I need your permission to use my own things?" Mom took my hand and asked too. "Hanmei, Gu Lin is right. Wasn't this meat meant for you to share with Gu Lin? How come?" My fingers tightened silently before curling into a faint smile. "Gu Lin, why don't you finish that sentence? You're taking my meat ration, only to feed Lin Jiao. Always preaching how us villagers waste good food while she needs the nourishment. What gives you the right to take our family's belongings to curry favor?" Gu Lin panicked and immediately retorted. "What nonsense are you spouting? May lightning strike whoever's lying and die a wretched death." I immediately cut in, stepping closer to him. "Oh, you've got quite the silver tongue when speaking to me. Too scared to say those things in front of your elders. Gu Lin, it's true your grandfather saved mine. That's undeniable. Haven't our family helped you enough over the years? Money when you needed money, food when you needed food. My father lost a hand saving your father's life. That debt should be repaid by now. What? Are you planning to saddle your next 18 generations on us?" The moment these words were spoken, my parents' faces darkened. This marriage arrangement was originally forced upon my parents by grandfather's deathbed plea invoking filial duty. My parents knew full well grandfather was using me as leverage to make them keep supporting the Gu family. Gu Lin must have been decent enough, coupled with grandfather's desperate pressure, that they finally consented. But if they expect me to tolerate keeping a mistress, they'd fight tooth and nail against it. Seeing his parents' dark expressions, Gu Lin hurriedly interjected. "Su Hanmei, what nonsense are you spouting? My relationship with Lin Jiao is completely innocent. You've got no right to gloat. If you fail the exams, you'll have to marry him whether you like it or not." With those words, he stormed off in a rage. Father's expression darkened at Gu Lin's vicious curse. "Hanmei, if you truly don't wish to marry, I'll protect you with my dying breath." Mother held back her tears as she embraced me. How could they treat my perfectly good girl like this? Nestled in mother's warm embrace, my heart ached unbearably, yet filial piety had always been held sacred in our village. Grandpa's gone, but Grandma's still with us. Grandma always deferred to Grandpa's word. It wouldn't surprise me if she threatened suicide to force me into marriage. The village gossip would shame my parents to death. How could I bear to put them through that, too? I wiped my tears and reassured them. "It's okay, Mom and Dad. Once I get into college, no one in this village will have anything to gossip about." Mom froze for a second before responding. "So you're delivering meat to Uncle Wang to keep Gu Lin from pulling any tricks, but something this serious. Even something this serious isn't beyond his capabilities." Dad stood up and ruffled my hair as he spoke. "Hanmei, leave this matter to your father. Your father believes you'll pass the exam for sure, and no one will take what rightfully belongs to you." I nodded firmly. In the following days, my parents and I took turns guarding the post station daily, fearing Gu Lin might seize any opportunity. Things weren't going well for Gu Lin and Lin Jiao either. Lin Jiao was an urban youth sent to the countryside, and she hooked up with Gu Lin almost immediately after arriving. Whenever there was backbreaking work that Gu Lin couldn't do due to gender norms, he'd always make me help out. Back then I believed Gu Lin's story that he was just getting Lin Jiao to tutor his younger siblings, so I worked my fingers to the bone every time. Once I came to my senses, I naturally stopped doing those chores. Without my labor, Lin Jiao lasted only a few days before complaining of exhaustion, forcing Gu Lin to reluctantly step in. But rumors began spreading, and Gu Lin was only home on leave. He'd soon return to the military. After much deliberation, he eventually came knocking at my door. "Hanmei, I know I went too far with what I said earlier, But there's really nothing between Lin Jiao and me. She's already left for college anyway. What could possibly happen between us? I genuinely just needed her help tutoring Xiaoyun and Xiaoya. You'll be their sister-in-law someday. Can't you just give in? I shoved him away impatiently, enunciating each word. Don't try to cozy up to me. I'd rather marry a pig or a dog than you. Gu Lin, pushed aside by me, snapped furiously. Su Hanmei, how could someone as vulgar as you ever get into college? You'll pay for this. I couldn't be bothered with Gu Lin and hurried off in the opposite direction. My shoulders finally relaxed when I spotted that familiar figure beneath the tree again. Phew, just made it, in my past life. I happened to rescue a middle-aged man who'd fainted here while working. Thinking it was just a simple good deed, I truthfully told him my name when asked, then never gave it another thought. Little did I know, this man turned out to be Song Pingwang, someone who carried tremendous weight in military circles. After learning I saved his life, Gu Lin exploited my kindness to climb the ranks, eventually securing a general's position. Yet in our past life, he constantly belittled me as worthless while boasting about other wives' influential backgrounds, deliberately concealing this debt of gratitude. This lifetime, I won't let Gu Lin benefit from me ever again. With this resolve, I swiftly administered first aid just as I had in our previous life. Soon, the man slowly regained consciousness. Little one, thank you for saving me. May I ask your name? I paused briefly before replying with a smile. Su Hanmei, it was nothing really. I've got work to attend to, so I'll take my leave now. Before Song Pingwang could ask more, I waved him off and left promptly. I had no intention of using Song Pingwang. His reputation preceded him as a man of unyielding integrity. A good man like him shouldn't die here. All I ask is that Gu Lin won't use this debt to manipulate him later. With that major issue resolved, I felt noticeably lighter at heart. In the following days, Gu Lin was uncharacteristically well behaved. And even Lin Jiao stopped flaunting his affections in front of me as she used to. Yet as days slipped by, the admission letter remained conspicuously absent. In the end, even Uncle Wang couldn't help asking when he saw me coming, "Hanmei, dear, maybe you just didn't make the cut this time." Knowing full well that couldn't be the case, I quickly followed up, "Uncle Wang, do you know if Lin Jiao passed the exam?" Uncle Wang shook his head and spoke up, "Not exactly. But someone saw Lin Jiqing packing her things. They say even though she didn't pass the exams, her family came to take her home." Hearing this, I immediately sensed something was off. In my past life, Gu Lin insisted on giving my college admission letter to Lin Jiao because her family refused to help her return to the city unless she got into university on her own merit. How could anything possibly change now? Suddenly, another possibility struck me, and I pressed further. "Uncle Wang. The mail carrier who delivered it just left, didn't he?" Seeing Uncle Wang nod, I didn't waste another word and dashed toward the village entrance. I finally managed to intercept the mail carrier who was about to leave at the village gate. "Excuse me, I'd like to ask if there's any express mail for Su Hanmei." The mail carrier thought carefully for a moment before asking with puzzlement. "Wasn't it already taken? They said he's Su Hanmei's husband. I even asked your fellow villagers from Day, they all confirmed it." In an instant, blood rushed to my head. For a split second, I felt like I couldn't even catch my breath. The weight of past lives crushed my heart, driving me forward in furious strides toward the Gu residence. I passed many villagers along the way, but hadn't the presence of mind to return any greetings. Bursting into the Gu household, my eyes immediately landed on Gu Lin entangled in intimate whispers with Lin Jiao. Without hesitation, I slapped Gu Lin hard across the face. "Gu Lin, where's my college acceptance letter?" Gu Lin's cheek flushed red from my slap, while the villagers who'd noticed something was wrong froze in their tracks. "Su Hanmei, what nonsense are you spouting?" Seeing the crowd gathering, Gu Lin forced composure and shouted, "What admission letter? Looks like you've gone mad after failing the exams yourself." Watching Gu Lin's shameless face, I couldn't help but yell in anger, "You're the crazy one. No wonder Uncle Wang couldn't get it. You intercepted my admission letter from the postman, and you even told villagers you're my spouse. Disgusting. How dare you call me your wife when we're not even married? Have you no shame?" At these words, someone from the crowd immediately spoke up. "Come to think of it, Gu Lin did receive a package addressed to Su Hanmei from the postman, but wasn't that package supposed to be delivered to Su Hanmei? Don't tell me they forgot to give it." Seeing the crowd growing suspicious, Lin Jiao quickly produced an envelope from nearby and said, "Here it is, just got too busy and forgot to hand it over." "That's all." I snatched it away, only to find a blank sheet inside when I opened it. Gu Lin snapped to realization and sneered, you think I'd withhold it for no reason? A blank sheet isn't exactly priceless, you're the one who swapped the contents. Clutching the blank paper, I glared at Gu Lin. Just then, Gu Yun and Gu Yu came running over and shoved me aside, saying, nonsense, it's just a blank sheet of paper. Do you have any proof that my brother took your admission letter? The villagers nodded in agreement and chimed in, that's right, Gu Yun and Gu Yu are the most honest kids, Hanmei dear. This must be some misunderstanding. Even my parents who rushed over seemed hesitant and tried to persuade me to leave. Seeing this, Gu Lin grew even more smug and sneered, Su Hanmei, why do you despise me so much that you refuse to marry me, dreaming of becoming a golden phoenix and flying away? But a sparrow will always remain a sparrow, it can never turn into a phoenix. You'd better wait patiently for my marriage proposal and marry me properly. I think it's you who should come clean and explain yourself. A stern voice came from behind, instantly drawing everyone's attention. Following the sound, the crowd saw a dignified middle-aged man approaching. Well, look who we have here, little one. I stared blankly at Song Pingwang, completely taken aback by his unexpected appearance at this moment. Gu Lin immediately started shouting as if he'd caught me red-handed. Perfect, Su Hanmei. I was wondering why you suddenly became so reluctant to marry me. So you found yourself another lover. This man could be your father's age, have you no shame? The villagers nearby began murmuring among themselves, who on earth is this? You're right, why would Hanmei suddenly refuse to get married out of the blue? She couldn't actually have taken a fancy to this old man, could she? Who'd have thought? She always seemed like such an obedient girl. I'd reached my limit and was about to slap Gu Lin when he caught my wrist. What's wrong? Hit a nerve? Su Hanmei. Need I remind you it was my grandfather who saved yours? This engagement was settled long ago, backing out now isn't an option. What admission letter? You're just daydreaming. Why don't you ask this old man to magically produce an admission letter for you? As Gu Lin finished speaking, another voice suddenly cut in. Shut up, Gu Lin. Do you realize who you're speaking to? Gu Lin's face paled the moment he recognized the visitor. Company Commander Li, what are you doing here? Li Mingjia's face darkened with disappointment and anger. How did I end up here? Maybe you should explain what you've done. This is Commander Song. This female comrade saved Commander Song's life. Commander Song came specifically to express his gratitude. And what do you do when Commander Song arrives? You immediately start making false accusations. You've completely disgraced our entire 17th company. Gu Lin's face instantly turned ashen pale, his expression shrinking timidly under Song Pingwang's gaze. Commander Song, my apologies, I didn't realize it was you. Before Gu Lin could finish, Song Pingwang waved him off with an icy expression. Without giving him a chance to explain further, she turned to me and spoke gently. Sweetheart, are you absolutely sure he took your admission letter? I nodded firmly in confirmation. Yes, it was him. Given his recent entanglement with Lin Jiqing, I've got every reason to suspect she's the one who took my college acceptance letter. Lin Jiao's face instantly drained of color upon hearing this. Su Hanmei, what nonsense are you spouting? I earned this admission letter fair and square through my own efforts. Since when did it become yours? Are you seriously trying to snatch it away just because the commander's here? Jiao, Gu Lin immediately scolded her. 3. Don't talk nonsense. Commander Song would never do such a thing. He turned his gaze toward me, eyes brimming with silent pleading. Hanmei, Jiao isn't lying to you. That admission letter truly belongs to her. I know you don't want to marry me, but you can't go around deceiving people like this. Gu Lin, stop falsely accusing me. I remained unmoved, speaking coldly. If she didn't take mine, then why doesn't she just show her admission letter so we can verify the name? Or are you too guilty to dare? The villagers nodded in agreement, murmuring amongst themselves, exactly, whose is this anyway? Just check the names and it'll be obvious. Besides, Uncle Wang told me that Gu's boy keeps sneaking May's things to curry favor with Lin the educated youth. Flirting is one thing, but intercepting mail carriers to steal admission letters, that's crossing a whole different line. There's definitely something fishy going on here. Everyone had assumed I'd gone crazy from failing the exams, but seeing Gu Lin and Lin Jiao acting so shifty made them all suspicious. Li Mingjie pressed further. Gu Lin, this comrade is absolutely right. Why don't you just check the names directly? Cornered by everyone's questioning, Lin Jiao stiffened her neck and blurted out, that admission letter isn't in my possession. My expression darkened as I demanded immediately, what do you mean by that? How could it not be with you? Lin Jiao's eyes darted shrewdly before she spoke up. This isn't even my home. Why should I keep my admission letter here? Naturally, I used my home address. My parents wrote to tell me I got accepted. What? Do you need me to take you to my place to verify this? If you don't believe me, feel free to search my house. See if you can find that admission letter. Seeing Gu Lin and Lin Jiao's smug expressions, I instantly realized they'd prepared everything in advance. After all, Commander Song was military personnel. How could he possibly search a female comrade's residence without concrete evidence? Even if we search, they've probably hidden it long ago. Chief Song, who had remained silent for quite some time, darkened his expression. Gu Lin, do you really think college admission can only be determined by an acceptance letter? I froze momentarily before turning to Chief Song with barely concealed excitement, pressing urgently for answers. Commander Song, do you have a solution? Commander Song stepped aside, revealing the person who'd been standing behind him, Principal Zhang. I stared at Principal Zhang in delighted surprise, momentarily at a loss for words. Didn't you go back to the city? What brings you here now? Principal Zhang patted my head affectionately and said with resignation, I was supposed to return to the city. Chief Song happened to ask me about you, so I came along. Principal Zhang fixed Lin Jiao with a stern gaze after speaking. Lin Jiao, must I spell it out? Su Hanmei passed the college entrance exam, not you. The school has everything on record. Did you really think you could attend college under Su Changhanmei's name? Gu Lin turned deathly pale upon hearing this. He never expected I'd coincidentally save Chief Song and witness this scene. Even their lies, his and Lin Jiao's, were systematically exposed by the witnesses brought forward. Lin Jiao's face was a picture of panic, her earlier arrogance completely gone as she trembled and clutched Principal Zhang's hand. Principal, that admission letter belongs to me. If it's not mine, I'll have nowhere to go back to. I refuse to stay in this backwater any longer. I'm begging you, please give me this opportunity. Principal Zhang pulled Lin Jiao's hand away and said coldly, That's no excuse for you to take Hanmei's admission letter. Give back the admission letter now. Chief Song glared at Gu Lin disapprovingly. The facts are clear. Gu Lin, are you still planning to cover for her this military promotion? Hearing this, Gu Lin grew anxious instantly. His exemplary performance in the army had earned him Company Commander Li's favor. Sacrificing his promising career for Lin Jiao was absolutely out of the question. Jiao, your admission letter. Hurry up and give it back to Hanmei. So what if we fail? We can always try again next year. Gu Lin stared urgently at Lin Jiao, pressing her to produce the admission letter. Lin Jiao looked at Gu Lin in disbelief and shoved him away abruptly. Lin Gu, that's easier said than done. Are you going to pay for me? You've fallen out with Hanmei Su. That money's going to your family now. Where would you get funds for my education? We'll figure out the money situation somehow. Gu Lin was frantic, his gaze at Lin Jiao laced with thinly veiled menace. Must you pick a fight with me right now? Spoiled by Gu Lin's usual indulgence, Lin Jiao bristled at his sudden threat. She abruptly undid her buttons and pulled out the admission letter from her clothes. I lunged forward to snatch the admission letter, but Lin Jiao beat me to it, ripping it to shreds. As the torn pieces fluttered to the ground, I couldn't help but slap Lin Jiao across the face. Have you lost your mind? Lin Jiao. No one expected Lin Jiao to have been hiding the admission letter on her all along. In this era obsessed with reputation, who would dare to search her person? Lin Jiao clutched the side of her face I'd struck, her eyes burning with venomous hatred. I've lost my mind. If I can't have it, neither will anyone else. Su Hanmei, dreaming of college, keep dreaming. My heart bled as I stared at the shredded acceptance letters scattered across the floor. Mom approached and gently steadied me, her own heart breaking. Just as I bent to gather the pieces, Principal Zhang yanked me back by the arm. Hanmei, don't worry, Commander Song already took care of it for you. I looked up at Commander Song in a daze, only to see him nodding at me as he said, when I first learned you hadn't received your admission letter, I immediately sent someone to have Tsinghua University mail you another copy. I made special arrangements regarding that admission letter. It must be delivered directly into your hands. Young lady, you earned your place at this university, so naturally, it's yours to attend. My eyes welled up with tears as I repeatedly bowed to Chief Song in gratitude. Chief Song, thank you. My parents wept tears of joy and kept thanking Chief Song and his team. The villagers who had gathered also breathed sighs of relief, offering me their congratulations. How wonderful. Our little Mei gets to go to school now. Our Day village finally has its first college student. Exactly. Who says our village can't produce outstanding talents? Our Mei is that golden phoenix. In stark contrast to this jubilant atmosphere, Gu Lin and Lin Jiao wore expressions that could only be described as utterly dismayed. After all that fuss, not only did they fail to steal my university spot, but they completely ruined their own future and reputation in the process. Everyone tacitly ignored them, while my parents insisted on inviting Commander Song and his entourage for dinner at our home. Unable to refuse my parents' hospitality, Commander Song and his party eventually agreed. The group quickly departed, leaving Gu Lin and his companions standing there with dark expressions. Back home, my parents specially bought meat and brought out their long-cherished liquor, insisting on sharing drinks with Chief Song and his company. After the meal and drinks, my father looked at me and said, "My daughter has finally come through her hardships, Chief Song. You wouldn't believe it, she's been talking about doing great things and serving the country since she was little. She could have taken the exams year after year. I'd have supported her no matter what, but that damned engagement robbed her of everything, left her with just this one shot." Dad wiped his tears as he spoke. I looked at Dad helplessly and tried to comfort him. "Dad, why bring this up now? Anyway, I got admitted now and don't have to marry Gu Lin anymore. The best is yet to come." Chief Song patted my father on the shoulder while giving me an approving look. "Hanmei is absolutely right, for, just as plum blossoms thrive through winter's harshness, Hanmei is destined for remarkable achievements. It so happens I have some connections at Tsinghua University. I'll ask them to keep an eye out for Hanmei. Don't worry about it anymore." With Chief Song's reassurance, my parents finally felt at ease. After dinner, Chief Song left me his contact number and told me to reach out if I ever needed assistance. After saying goodbye to Chief Song and his team, my parents cheerfully began preparing my college essentials. Gu Lin couldn't accept me leaving for college just like that, shamelessly crawling back to me. "Hanmei, let's get married after you finish university." Holding my acceptance letter, the last shred of patience I had for Gu Lin vanished completely. "Gu Lin, have you no shame at all? We agreed back then, if I got into college, this engagement would be called off. Didn't you say I was too stupid to pass, that marrying me was beneath you? Let me make this clear, I'm the one rejecting you." After cursing Gu Lin out, I refused to acknowledge his existence. He went to Grandma again, trying to use Grandpa's dying words to pressure her into forcing me to marry. But when Grandma heard about Gu Lin's misdeeds, she chased him out with a broom. "You little rascal, you stole my granddaughter's college acceptance letter, and you dare show your face talking about marriage. Get lost." After all this, the Gu family's reputation in the village was completely ruined. Whenever any Gu family member stepped outside, villagers would inevitably gather to whisper and point fingers. The stress worsened Madame Gu's already poor health condition considerably. Gu Yun and Gu Yu used to be well liked in the village for their adorable cleverness, and people readily believed their stories without hesitation. Now that the truth came out, the mischievous village kids started calling them little liars outright. Being young and sensitive, they couldn't handle the teasing, which only deepened their resentment toward Gu Lin and Lin Jiao. Back when our family supported the Gus, Gu Lin could spare a good portion of his monthly stipend for Lin Jiao. With things escalating like this, Mom and Dad naturally refused to help anymore. The medical expenses for Gu's mother, clothing and school fees for Gu Yun and Gu Yu, all these burdens fell solely on Gu Lin's shoulders. He wanted Lin Jiao to contribute some emergency funds, but she flat out refused. They quarreled repeatedly, nearly taking their dispute to the village chief. Mom told me all this. Furious at the Gu family's actions, she took pleasure in seeing their misfortune. I hugged Mom and tried every way to convince her not to dwell on it. What happens to them doesn't concern us anymore. Better days are ahead. I wanted to let it go, but forgot some people weren't willing to. That day, I was just about to call it quits when my steps grew unsteady after only a few paces. Meanwhile, an inexplicable heat began spreading through my entire body, instinctively bracing against the tree. I looked up to find Gu Lin standing before me. It dawned on me instantly, he'd drugged me. "Gu Lin, you despicable coward, how dare you resort to such underhanded tricks?" Gu Lin glared at me with pure venom in his eyes as he spat out bitterly. "Su Hanmei, you brought this upon yourself by refusing to obey. Wouldn't it have been easier if you'd just married me like you were supposed to? Why must you insist on attending that university? You're humiliating me in front of Commander Song. Do you have any idea I was about to get promoted after this assignment?" I forced myself upright, gasping for breath as I spoke. "Gu Lin, don't think I don't know what you're scheming. Aren't you just counting on my parents to keep propping up your dumpster fire of a family out of respect for me? Be honest with yourself. How much of your monthly stipend actually goes to your own family? Gu Lin let out a scornful laugh and sneered. So what? Blame your grandfather for this, insisting you wouldn't have to marry me if you got into college. On what grounds? This is your family's debt to ours. Forget just your father's missing hand arranging this marriage, your whole damn family owes us. We could have had a perfect wedding. You're the one who forced my hand. I turned to run, only to be shoved to the ground by Lin Jiao, who appeared out of nowhere. Why waste words on her? Hurry up. My eyes widened when I saw Lin Jiao. Lin Jiao, why are you siding with Gu Lin, after what you did to me? Did you really think I'd let you off easy? Lin Jiao stared at me with venomous eyes. Su Hanmei, stay put and get married like you're supposed to. I clutched at the grass beneath me, glaring at Gu Lin as I spoke. You wouldn't dare. If you do this, I'll report you to Commander Song. See if you can keep your military career after that. Lin Jiao bent down and patted my face with her hand, letting out a mocking laugh. Su Hanmei, did you really think we hadn't anticipated this? Gu Lin drank the medicine too. When the time comes, we'll just say the kids were fooling around and accidentally spilled the powder into your water. It was all just an accident. Who'd ever believe your story? Unlike you, caught canoodling with a man in public, willing or not, you'll marry him or face the ducking stool. Flames seemed to consume every drop of moisture in my body, setting my very blood ablaze. Gritting my teeth, I bit my lip hard, letting the sharp pain anchor my fading sanity. Across from me, Gu Lin's gaze turned murky, his eyes burning with undisguised lust. Lin Jiao crouched on the ground, watching me with smug satisfaction. Su Hanmei, don't even dream of anyone coming to save you. I've already cleared everyone out. You could bite your lips raw and scream yourself hoarse. No one would come to your rescue. Su Hanmei, you're staying here for the rest of your life. This is your fate. Lin Jiao's maniacal laughter echoed in my ears, transporting me back to her identical demeanor at Gu Lin's funeral in my past life. Though we were contemporaries, she appeared 20 years my junior. Her poised elegance stood in stark contrast to my own frenzied, near-delirious state. I remember vividly how she sauntered over to me, gloating with smug satisfaction. Su Hanmei, what does your 40-year marriage to Gu Lin even mean? He only married you to get a housemaid, someone to care for his parents, raise his siblings, and manage every household chore. He told me himself, I'm nothing like you, you were born to serve others, unlike me who's meant to be pampered. Come to think of it, I should thank you for letting me enjoy all these wonderful years with Brother Gu. Trembling with rage, I raised my hand to slap her, only to be shoved to the ground by my own children. Dad and Aunt Lin are truly meant for each other. Mom, take a look at yourself. I'd be embarrassed to even call you my mother. Dad's funeral and his assets are his own business. Who are you? Someone who did nothing to interfere. Dad was right all along. You've been spoiled rotten by living too comfortably. They sided with the person who ruined my life. Their venomous words piercing straight through the most vulnerable corners of my heart. Their cruelty literally killed me. My dying ears still caught them complaining about the bad omen of my death. Given this second chance after all I'd done, how could I possibly resign myself to relive that tragic ending? I tilted my head toward the delirious Gu Lin approaching me, my gaze locking onto the rock beside Lin Jiao. A surge of adrenaline coursed through me, just as Gu Lin was about to grab me. I seized a rock and smashed it against Lin Jiao's head with all my strength. Lin Jiao collapsed limply to the ground, and I used that moment to scramble desperately to my feet. Gu Lin immediately pounced on Lin Jiao, violently tearing at her clothes. The blow had dazed Lin Jiao momentarily, but she quickly regained her senses and frantically tried to protect her clothing. Gu Lin, look at me clearly. I'm not Su Hanmei, let go of me. At first she tried to reason with Gu Lin, but they'd overdosed the sedative powder for authenticity's sake, leaving him completely beyond reason. After years in the military, his strength easily overpowered Lin Jiao. Lin Jiao finally panicked, weeping and begging Gu Lin to let her go, even pleading with me desperately. Su Hanmei, save me. I know I was wrong. Please, I'm begging you to save me. I threw the rock I'd used to hit her onto the ground. A flicker of triumph crossed Lin Jiao's face as she desperately crawled toward it, intending to knock Gu Lin unconscious just as I had, but the moment her fingers grazed the stone, Gu Lin violently yanked her back and tore her clothes open. Turning away, I ignored the screams and curses behind me, walking steadily toward the opposite direction, avoiding the crowds. I returned home and immediately submerged myself in the water vat. In my final moment of fading consciousness, I saw Mom drop her farming tools and rush toward me in panic. Don't call for help. With those last words, I blacked out completely, When I came to, my distraught parents were hovering over me. "Hanmei, thank goodness you're awake." Mother was terribly frightened, but finally breathed a sigh of relief. I forced a faint smile and said remorsefully, "Dad, Mom, I'm sorry for making you worry." Mom shook her head and stroked my hair as she spoke. Was it Gu Lin and Lin Jiao again? Before I could even ask, Dad chimed in from beside me. Gu Lin and Lin Jiao were caught having an affair in the grove. Heard they were practically glued together when they got caught. Isn't that near the area where you work, Hanmei? I nodded and told my parents everything that happened. Hearing my words, Mom pulled me into a tight embrace and said with heartache, "5, those two beasts, why won't they leave our Hanmei alone?" Dad looked at me with concern and said, "Hanmei, I'm afraid they'll pin this whole thing on you. Why don't you stay with your grandma for a while? Your mother and I can handle things at work." I shook my head and spoke up, "There's no running from this. If I leave now, it'll look like an admission of guilt." Right on cue, a commotion erupted outside the house. "Su Hanmei, get out here this instant." I threw on some clothes and followed my parents to the front door. There stood Madame Gu, a rare sight, blocking the doorway with Gu Lin and Lin Jiao in tow, surrounded by villagers eager for drama. "Su Hanmei, you scheming little tramp." Spotting me, Madame Gu immediately erupted in fury. "How dare you set traps for my son?" Already seething with rage, Mom lunged forward and pinned Mrs. Gu beneath her, grabbing her hair and slapping her twice across the face. "Who the hell are you calling names? What's your son's screw-up got to do with my daughter? Say that again and I'll rip your damn mouth open." Gu Lin tried to intervene, but his father physically blocked him. With Gu's mother in poor health and Gu Lin just drugged, they stood no chance against my parents in a fight. Seeing this, the villagers quickly stepped in to mediate, speaking soothingly, "Let's talk this through calmly. What's all this commotion about?" Gu Lin glared at me with pure hatred as he spoke. "Su Hanmei, how dare you drug me and Lin Jiao? Where's your proof?" I gazed calmly at Gu Lin before me, sneering coldly. "Erniu, tell us, did Su Hanmei send you with this water?" Gu Lin shoved Li Erniu, Aunt Li's son, forward and pointed at me accusingly. Li Erniu glanced at me cautiously before nodding hesitantly. "That's her. She told me to bring water to Brother Gu and Jiqing Lin." The moment these words were spoken, the crowd erupted in uproar, facing countless suspicious and scornful gazes. I let out a derisive laugh. "Erniu, you're claiming I told you to poison them. Then tell me, where and what did I offer to make you agree?" Li Erniu stiffened his neck and answered immediately. "At that little mound behind the hill, you handed me a candy, saying it was just to quench Brother Gu and Lin Jiqing's thirst. I had no idea there was something harmful inside." I stared at Li Erniu and pressed further. "What candy? Show it to me." Gu Lin said urgently. "That candy was finished long ago. Su Hanmei, are you trying to deny it?" I grabbed Li Erniu's shoulders and suddenly said with a darkened expression, "Erniu, you must have kept the candy wrapper after eating the sweet, right? But you only mentioned the place, not the time. Was it during dinner yesterday or lunch the day before? Remember, little liars get eaten by monsters." I made a scary face that sent Li Erniu crying and spitting out the candy wrapper instantly. "This is the one. It was from last night's dinner." I released the sobbing Li Erniu and picked up the candy wrapper from the ground. "If I recall correctly, Gu Lin, you're the one who specially brought these candies back then." Gu Yun and Gu Yu were bragging around the village, saying they only shared them with Lin Jiao and themselves. The rest of us didn't get a single piece. Besides, I was helping Aunt Lu move stuff during dinner yesterday. "Gu Lin, how dare you blame your own filthy deeds on me?" Sensing trouble, Aunt Li immediately confronted them angrily. "Erniu, tell me the truth. Who exactly ordered you to poison them?" Li Erniu trembled all over in fear and whispered, "It was Brother Gu. He told me to give it to Sister Hanmei, but I truly didn't know there was something in the water. Brother Gu said I was harming people, threatened to turn me in if I didn't help him." With the truth now laid bare, Aunt Li immediately lunged at Gu Lin and Lin Jiao in a fury. "You shameless pair, how dare you drag our Erniu into your wicked schemes? You think I've gone soft?" Mrs. Gu tried to intervene, only to end up getting her face scratched by Aunt Li. In the end, the whole incident left the Gu family utterly humiliated. With her reputation ruined, Lin Jiao had no choice but to marry Gu Lin. Rumor had it that Lin Jiao's parents initially wanted to marry her off for bride price, but she stubbornly refused by insisting on pursuing college. Upon learning she'd not only failed college entrance but also given herself to Gu Lin, she was so furious she severed ties immediately. When Gu Lin refused responsibility, Lin Jiao threatened to report him, forcing him to file marriage paperwork. Their wedding day turned ugly. Gu's mother tried putting Lin Jiao in her place, but she wasn't one to swallow insults and made a public scene, though I didn't witness any of this firsthand. On their wedding day, my parents put me on the train bound for university. Arriving at the university I'd dreamed of for generations, I cherished every moment on campus. I studied relentlessly, seizing every opportunity to better myself. Later, riding the wave of reform and opening up, I plunged into industry and soon made my first fortune. As my business flourished, I bought a house in the city and wanted to move my whole family there. Grandma refused to come with us, insisting on staying in the countryside, so I could only bring my parents to the city. When I finally returned to the village again, it was 10 years later for Grandma's funeral. It was during this visit that I heard updates about Gu Lin and the others again. With Mother Gu in poor health, all household chores fell upon Lin Jiao. Spoiled rotten, Lin Jiao refused to lift a finger after getting pregnant, ordering Gu Yun and Gu Yu around instead, while boiling water one day. The sisters lost grip of the pot, sending scalding water cascading down. Gu Yun's hand was crushed, while Gu Yu suffered severe facial burns that scarred most of her face. Upon learning the news, Gu Lin had a violent argument with Lin Jiao that escalated into physical altercation. Already fed up with Madame Gu's passive-aggressive remarks, Lin Jiao retaliated by filing a formal complaint that got Gu Lin fired and sent back to their village. Gu Lin's ambitions far exceeded his capabilities, leaving him unemployed and locked in daily quarrels with Lin Jiao. Amid their mutual blame-shifting, Madame Gu lost her life. Gu Yun left home without a word, while Gu Yu, scarred facially, was forced to marry a widowed butcher from a neighboring village, severing all family ties. Wouldn't it have been better to just live an honest life? Our neighbor aunt sighed while telling me this. I heard they were diagnosed with cancer recently. I just smiled at Auntie in response. Who knows? Just as I was leaving after Grandma's funeral arrangements, Gu Lin suddenly appeared and stopped me. His hair had turned gray, making him look considerably older, yet his eyes sparkled with unmistakable excitement. Hanmei, you've been reborn, haven't you? I was wrong in our past life. This time, let's do it right. That wretched Lin Jiao, vain and materialistic, could never hold a candle to you. As my bodyguard held Gu Lin back, I covered my nose in disgust. What lunatic reeks like this? Stay away from me. Gu Lin froze on the spot. Those were the last words he'd left me in his previous life. He claimed that for 40 years, every time he got close to me, he could smell the stench of a country bumpkin, utterly disgusted by my presence. But that foul odor wasn't from me. It was the putrid stench emanating from his rotten soul. I ignored Gu Lin's furious shouts. His rebirth couldn't have come at a better time. Let him fully taste the fate he truly deserves before his illness claims him. As the car started, the winter jasmine by the roadside bloomed vibrantly. My own spring had only just begun. Story 2. After Xinyu was discovered to be the wrongly exchanged fake young master, he was kicked out of the Xin family. His fiancée felt ashamed and took the lead in bullying him at school. I couldn't bear it and helped him. I advised him to break off the engagement and rely on himself from then on. Later, Xinyu became a new up-and-coming figure in the business circle. However, in order to marry his former fiancée, he shifted all that had happened back then onto me. They joined hands to bring down my family's company, causing my family to be ruined and me to commit suicide in hatred. When I opened my eyes again, Xinyu's fiancée asked me where he had gone. Without hesitation, I pointed to the alley at the back gate of the school. The alley has 2 exits. Remember to bring more people to block it. 1. Qingxi, I'll wait for you at the secret base. Don't tell anyone. The familiar voice pulled me back to reality from the void. Xinyu's bright eyes carried a plea. His delicate face was swollen high at the moment. The corner of his forehead seemed to have been pierced by something sharp, and blood dripped down his face drop by drop. I knew that this was from Xing Qianqian's kick. The identical scene from the previous life made me realize that I had been reborn back to 10 years ago, back to the beginning of all the pain. In the previous life, Xinyu was discovered to be the fake young master. The nanny of the Xin family back then was greedy and swapped the children of the 2 families. Once it was discovered, the Xin family immediately drove Xinyu out of the house. However, the engagement between Xing Qianqian and Xinyu still existed. Everyone in the circle was laughing at Xing Qianqian for going to marry the son of a nanny. Xing Qianqian, in a fit of anger, brought people to bully Xinyu at school. Xinyu couldn't afford to offend them and could only hide. When I saw the once noble Xinyu in such a sorry state, I felt compassion. I not only helped him to see the chasing Xing Qianqian away but also sent him to the hospital. Xinyu had no money on him, so I advanced the medical expenses and called the police for him. The police came forward to educate Xing Qianqian and informed the school of everything. Naturally, the school wouldn't take any action against Xing Qianqian. After all, when Xing Qianqian entered the school, the Xing family had donated a building to the school. Because of the matter of calling the police, Xinyu's life became increasingly difficult. The injuries on his body were getting heavier day by day. I was so angry that I exposed everything on the internet. Triggering the anger of the whole network, the school's reputation was damaged, and finally, unable to withstand the pressure, it had to expel Xing Qianqian. The Xing family felt ashamed and directly sent Xing Qianqian abroad. On the day Xing Qianqian went abroad, I accompanied Xinyu to the Xing family to break off the engagement. After that, the two of them went their separate ways and had nothing to do with each other anymore. After getting rid of the bullying, Xinyu pulled himself together again. With my tutoring, his grades improved continuously, and he quickly ranked among the top 10 in the grade. The classmates all joked that Xinyu was playing the leading male role in a starting point novel, breaking off the engagement and making a comeback, slapping his fiancée in the face. Indeed, as they said, 5 years after graduation, Xinyu became a new up-and-coming figure in the business circle, with an unlimited future. But Xinyu's high-spiritedness was precisely the beginning of my nightmare. 2. Xinyu fell in love with his former fiancée Xing Qianqian, who had bullied him. If Xinyu was playing the role of the counter-attacking male protagonist, then Xing Qianqian was the female protagonist in a sadomasochistic love story. Xinyu achieved success and fame, while Xing Qianqian regretted it. After some entanglement, the two got engaged again and became fiancés once more. After being together, Xing Qianqian was obsessed with the fact that Xinyu had broken off the engagement back then. She was also dissatisfied with my existence. When Xinyu found out, he shifted all the blame of that year onto me. It was me who forced him to go to the hospital, me who called the police, me who caused the online public opinion, and me who forced the break off of the engagement. Xinyu cleared himself completely. He shaped my kindness into a secret love for him and my failure to get him. Later, the two of them joined hands to suppress my family's company. Under their scheme, my family declared bankruptcy. My father owed hundreds of millions of debts. He was in a daze and didn't pay attention to dodging while driving, and died in a car accident. When my mother found out, she had a heart attack and was rushed to the hospital on the spot but couldn't be saved. And on this day, Xinyu and Xing Qianqian held a century-old wedding, which everyone envied. My family was ruined, and I was completely disheartened. I climbed to the top floor of the Xin group and jumped off. Unexpectedly, when I opened my eyes again, I returned to the time when Xinyu was being bullied. This time, I won't be so kind-hearted to help him anymore. I want to watch Xinyu be buried in the quagmire and never be able to turn around. 3. My thoughts returned, seeing that I didn't reply. Xinyu had already run away. My family was a nouveau riche. When I first transferred, I was isolated by all my classmates. Only Xinyu, who was the monitor, took more care of me. There was an old woman selling delicious bean curd in the alley at the back gate of the school, but the students studying in this school all came from wealthy or noble families, and not many people went there to eat every day. I would occasionally help the old woman out. Later, the old woman passed away, and I was also used to going there to sit occasionally. Gradually, it became my secret base. Xinyu also knew about this, so this time, when he was chased by Xing Qianqian with nowhere to hide, he went there. Jiang Qingxi, have you seen Xinyu? Xing Qianqian's arrogant voice pulled back my thoughts. There were a group of followers behind her. Half of them were her suitors, the remaining half were the followers of her suitors. They also disliked Xinyu. After knowing that Xing Qianqian was going to deal with Xinyu, they all volunteered. Without hesitation, I pointed to the alley at the back gate of the school. Xinyu went that way. The alley is quite deep and has 2 exits. Remember to bring more people to block it. Xing Qianqian's expression was blank for a moment, as if she didn't expect me to answer so simply. You're not lying to me, you actually betrayed Xinyu. I spread my hands. Miss Xing, I'm just a passer-by and not familiar with Xinyu. I'm not curious about your love-hate relationship either, so you don't need to doubt me. Xing Qianqian sneered. I understand. You see that Xinyu has fallen and want to curry favor with me. Let me tell you, no way. I was speechless. If you think so, I can't help it. Also, if you don't chase him, he'll run away. Xing Qianqian gave me a fierce look and led the followers behind her straight to the back alley. I took a deep breath and turned to walk towards the classroom. The smell of youth is really nice. 4. It was not until a week later that I saw Shinyu again at school. The bruises on his face had mostly faded, only his forehead had been stitched a few times, and the gauze hadn't been removed yet. From the moment he entered the classroom, he would look at me from time to time, as if he wanted to say something but held back. As soon as the teacher announced the end of class, he came over. Chinxi. Why did you betray me that day? My hand that was doing the questions paused, and I asked him in return. Shinyu, did you call the police that day? Shinyu was stunned. Call the police? I couldn't call the police. Qianqian, well, that's it, I interrupted him impatiently. What does the fun play between you two fiancés have to do with me? A passer-by. Shinyu froze in place, his face turning green and then white. I directly ignored him and lowered my head to continue studying. Shinyu had to leave reluctantly, but not long after, Shinyu actually started to pursue me high-profilely. When I arrived at the classroom in the morning, breakfast and hot milk were already placed on my desk. During the break, as soon as I picked up my cup, a cup filled with water was brought in front of me. I ignored all of this and focused on my studies. Then he would send me a cute pen every day, or write some encouraging notes. He even bought the latest exercise books. I refused to accept all of these and returned them to him. I thought he would stop after being crazy for a while, but unexpectedly, he directly changed his seat to the side of mine. Wherever I went, he went, just like at this moment. As soon as I stood up, he immediately stood up and followed me. Chinxi, where are you going? I'll go with you. I rolled my eyes. The women's restroom. Do you want to go? Shinyu forced a smile and sat back, with the idea of avoiding him. I stayed in the restroom for a while longer. Qianqian, why is Shinyu pursuing Jiang Chinxi? Don't you have an engagement? Qianqian sneered. I don't want to have an engagement with that nanny's son. Does he even think he's worthy? I just casually said that he's not likable. He refused to accept it and said he would prove it to me, so I made a bet with him to see if he could win Jiang Qingxi's heart within a month. The conversation between Qianqian and the other person made me stop. You two are willing to play this game, and you can still drag me into it. You're dumping all this garbage on me. Do you think I'm a garbage recycling station? I returned to the classroom with a cold face. The head teacher was announcing that the school would hold a mobilization meeting next week. At that time, the school would invite graduated seniors and seniors to give lectures. Hearing this, I suddenly thought of someone. Next week, a senior named Xie Junqing would come. He was exactly the white moonlight that Xing Qianqian couldn't get. This was also one of the reasons why Xing Qianqian was eager to get rid of Shinyu. Since that's the case, I want to make it impossible for her and her white moonlight to be together. I want to lock her and Shinyu together completely. 5. When Shinyu came up to fawn on me again, I didn't directly refuse. I took the milk tea he gave and took a sip, frowning. So sweet. Do you want to choke me to death? Shinyu was a bit at a loss. He didn't drink milk tea. When he was the young master of the Shin family before, he had never flattered anyone. Naturally, he didn't know what to do at this moment. I casually threw the milk tea into the trash can and returned to my seat to continue doing the math test paper. In the previous life, my grades were also excellent, but I spent some of my energy tutoring Shinyu. As a result, I barely got into University A and couldn't choose my favorite major. In this life, I'm going to participate in the last round of the competition and be directly recommended for admission. After finishing a test paper, Shinyu came to apologize with a new cup of milk tea. Chinxi, this cup is without sugar. It's definitely not sweet. I didn't take it. Do you know why Xing Qianqian said you're not likable? Shinyu was stunned. His lips moved, as if he wanted to ask me how I knew. I patted Shinyu on the shoulder. I don't mind you using me as practice to pursue Xing Qianqian, but what you're doing now doesn't look like pursuing a girl. It's more like being someone else's follower. As my voice fell, Shinyu's brows furrowed completely. I knew that he had listened. I continued to persuade him. What you need more now is to clarify your feelings to Xing Qianqian. Only when you confess will these actions of yours be called pursuit. Shinyu smiled bitterly. She will reject me. I glared at him in frustration. As long as you're romantic enough, you can make her unable to refuse you. Shinyu was silent for a long time before saying, can you teach me what to do? I raised the corners of my lips. Of course. 6. Soon it was the day of the mobilization meeting. Most of the seniors and seniors invited by the school were from University A, the top-tier institution in the country. The other half were studying abroad. After all, they were all young ladies and young masters from wealthy families who liked to get a gilded education. At the school gate, among a row of plain checked skirts, Xing Qianqian's white waist cinching skirt stood out particularly. This was the student union reception organized by the school, responsible for leading the seniors and seniors to the auditorium, such a hard and tiring job. Xing Qianqian never considered before. This time, she specifically asked for this quota. Xie Junqing arrived last. He was wearing a loose black t-shirt, a baseball cap pressing down on his stubble, and gray sweatpants below. Compared with Xing Qianqian's elaborate dress, he looked extremely casual. He didn't seem to be here to give a lecture but rather passing by. Seeing that the person had arrived, Xing Qianqian immediately greeted him. "Senior Xia, long time no see." Xie Junqing didn't even look at her. He nodded casually and walked in with big steps. He left Xing Qianqian behind, chasing in a sorry state in her scheming high-heeled shoes. I laughed. I thought they were so close, but Xie Junqing didn't remember who she was at all. In the previous life, I saw Xie Junqing's name on the hot search and learned something about him. The Xie family was a family of scholars. They weren't extremely wealthy but had power. Xie Junqing had always ranked first in the grade from childhood to adulthood. In high school, he was recommended to University A after studying for only 1 year. Don't look at him as a postgraduate student now. In fact, he's only 2 years older than me. In the previous life, during his doctoral studies, he developed a new anti-cancer drug and was once called the light of the medical field. Everyone said that with him around, it was only a matter of time before cancer was conquered. With his family background, good looks, and talent, he once became the white moonlight of all the girls in the circle. But now it seems that Xie Junqing has no intention of falling in love at all. Xing Qianqian's flirtatious looks were all in vain. When the two of them arrived at the auditorium, everyone was present. Xie Junqing and the others were arranged seats uniformly. Xing Qianqian had to sit in the back row reluctantly. The principal's boring speech lasted for 2 hours and finally came to an end. Xie Junqing was the first senior to speak. He got up and went to the backstage to prepare to go on stage. Perhaps the methods of a genius don't apply to everyone. The speech Xie Junqing prepared was very short. He started to express his gratitude in just 3 minutes. Seeing this, Xing Qianqian got up and prepared to rush to the backstage. At this moment, the beam of light on the stage suddenly went out and shone on Xing Qianqian's position. Everyone turned their heads in unison to look at her position. I took advantage of the darkness to touch the stage, grabbed Xie Junqing, and pulled him down. The lights on the stage lit up again. It was Xingyu holding a large bouquet of roses. He had specially tidied himself up today, with a white shirt and black trousers. His figure was tall and straight, showing off his youthful charm. He was holding a microphone in his other hand and looking at Xing Qianqian affectionately. "Xing Qianqian, I'm telling you in front of all the teachers and students in the school that I like you. Your beauty and elegance always amaze me. Every time I see you, my heart beats faster as if it's going to jump out of my chest." 7. All the students in the audience started too, and several members of the atmosphere creating group I hired shouted, "Get together," loudly. This kind of forced confession made Xing Qianqian's face look uglier and uglier. She couldn't bear it anymore and shouted, "Shut up, all of you shut up." However, her voice couldn't suppress the sound of the microphone at all, and Xingyu was still affectionately reciting the love letter I found on Baidu. It was cheesy and boring. Xie Junqing beside me had no intention of watching the excitement and turned around to leave. I took 2 steps forward. "Senior Xia, it's dark here, let me see you out." Xie Junqing glanced at the work ID hanging around my neck and nodded hesitantly. Out of the corner of her eye, Xing Qianqian caught sight of our figures walking out and became even more anxious. She realized that she couldn't stop this confession and turned around and ran. Seeing this, those in the atmosphere creating group immediately changed their tune. "She's shy, she's shy." Some even blocked the aisle so that she couldn't leave immediately. I led Xie Junqing slowly towards the entrance of the auditorium, and Xing Qianqian became increasingly anxious. She stared intently at Xie Junqing, for fear that he would run away. Noticing her gaze, I pretended to trip and fell towards Xie Junqing unsteadily. Xie Junqing subconsciously supported my arm and pulled me up. I gently placed my other hand on his waist. From Xing Qianqian's perspective, it looked like Xie Junqing was supporting me and I was hugging Xie Junqing's waist. Seeing this scene, Xing Qianqian was so angry that her face turned blue. She glared fiercely at me and Xie Junqing, wishing she could rush up and tear the two of us to pieces. Seeing that I had achieved my goal, I decisively pulled away from Xie Junqing. I said in a low voice, "Thank you, senior, Before Xie Junqing could reply, I directly quickened my pace and led him out. After leaving the auditorium, I casually asked about the biology competition as if by accident. Xie Junqing was a bit surprised. This competition is very difficult. It's not easy to grab the qualification for direct admission. It's better to prepare for the college entrance examination. I tilted my head. Should we give up just because it's difficult? Will senior give up when encountering research that's difficult to overcome? Xie Junqing didn't expect me to ask such a question and was stunned there for a moment. Seeing this, I smiled more brightly. Senior Xie definitely won't give up. Right, whether it's a small problem or thousands of problems, they won't defeat you. You will always move forward towards your goal and never give up. Neither will I. After being stunned for a moment, Xie Junqing raised the corners of his mouth and showed his first smile today. I have a lot of competition materials. I can give them to you if you need them. Great. I'm really benefiting from the god of learning. Taking the opportunity, I took out my phone, opened WeChat, and handed it to Xie Junqing. Senior, add me on WeChat. Xie Junqing didn't refuse. He took the phone, his knuckles slightly bent, and entered his number. After entering, he handed the phone back to me. I grabbed the other end of the phone, but Xie Junqing didn't let go. He lowered his head, his dark eyes staring straight at me with determination. Junior, see you at University A. 8. Xingyu's confession to Xing Qianqian was forcibly suppressed by the teacher. No one dared to mention this matter at school. However, not long after, clips from that day became popular on short video platforms. The outstanding looks of the two and the positioning of the noble school made the video go viral. Countless netizens were crazy about it. I hired some online water army and created a topic. Hashtag was Xing Qianqian touched today hashtag. There were some intimate efforts that Xingyu made for Xing Qianqian. At first, I was the one posting, and later, after this post became famous, it attracted a large number of students to leave messages. For example, this one, Xing Qianqian mentioned yesterday that she wanted to eat strawberry cake, and Xingyu bought it today. Is this what it means to respond to every word? I'm so into it. Netizens commented below, so sweet, how can you bear not to agree to him? Xing Qianqian, get together, get together. The overbearing young lady acts the persistent top student who only has eyes for her. It really hits me. As the online popularity increased, Xing Qianqian couldn't sit still anymore. She took out all her anger on Xingyu, and she directly resorted to violence, beating him into the hospital. Xingyu wouldn't be able to return to school for at least 2 or 3 months. After the male protagonist was absent, the online popularity finally decreased a bit. Xing Qianqian spent money to delete all the posts completely, and the hot search disappeared completely. The campus returned to quiet again. And so did my life. A week of peaceful days passed. One day, after class, the head teacher called me to the office. Qingxi, you know about Xingyu being hospitalized, right? Hearing Xingyu's name, my eyelids twitched, and I had a bad premonition. Sure enough, the head teacher said, before Xingyu was hospitalized, his grades had been dropping. This time, he's directly hospitalized for a month. I thought that since you two had a good relationship before, you might as well work a little harder during this period. Get out of class early every day and go to the hospital to tutor classmate tutor Xingyu. In the previous life, I was so kind-hearted that I did such a selfless and stupid thing. In this life, I will never do such a thankless thing again. I refused. Teacher, the internet is very developed now. You can search for anything you don't understand. He can study by himself completely. The head teacher frowned. This is too lacking in classmate friendship. Many difficult problems on the internet are not clearly analyzed and can't be targeted. I sneered. Then you are more suitable to go. You can not only express the friendship between teachers and students but also provide targeted, one-on-one tutoring. The head teacher didn't expect me to refuse so firmly, and her face suddenly turned as black as ink. Student Jiang Qingxi, the teacher remembers that you signed up for the biology competition, right? The school won't give the quota to a student with bad moral character. I hope you understand. I was almost amused. The head teacher meant to threaten me with the competition quota. If I didn't go to the hospital to tutor Xingyu, she would give the quota to someone else on the grounds that I had bad moral character. This was a blatant threat. Seeing that I understood her meaning, the head teacher patted me on the shoulder. Don't be in a hurry, think it over. Sometimes suffering losses is a blessing. There's no need to be so stubborn. Not be stubborn, be filled with anger instead. Bend over backwards for others and wrong myself. Don't be so hypocritical. my mammary glands are also mammary glands. However, I have no grudges against the head teacher, and Xinyu doesn't seem to have any connection with the head teacher either. The only explanation is that this is Xing Qianqian's doing again. Since I can't oppose it, I'll face it head on. You have your tricks. And I have my ways. I pretended to compromise and changed my words. I'll go. The head teacher nodded in satisfaction. That's a good girl, good girl. How ironic. 9. The head teacher exempted me from evening self-study and the last class in the afternoon. She said it was to make it more convenient for me to go to the hospital. I didn't object. After packing up my test papers, I went to the hospital. Xinyu was down and out now and naturally didn't have a VIP ward. And this ordinary ward had 4 beds and was very noisy. When he saw me come in, he didn't say anything. He knew that he had been tricked by me and was angry. No one would spoil him. I wished he would be angry and stay away from me. I threw his books in front of him and then casually found a table to do my test papers. I didn't look at him once throughout the process. Before long, Xinyu finally couldn't hold it in anymore. The teacher said to let you come and tutor me. Is this how you tutor? I snorted. Oh, who do you think you are? Are you being picky? Have you paid me for tutoring, young Master Shen? The word money immediately made Xinyu shut up. I put on my earphones with peace of mind, blocked out the noise in the ward, and started doing the questions. After that, every day I came to the ward to punch in as if I were completing a task, did 2 test papers, and then went home. I thought that Xing Qianqian arranged this to lure me out of school and teach me a lesson, so I specifically told the bodyguards and the driver to keep a distance. Unexpectedly, Xing Qianqian had a different plan. She took pictures of me and Xinyu and posted them on the school's confession wall. The goddess of learning X the down and out top student. This CP is so good. The top-rated comments below were obviously the work of someone she hired to lead the rhythm. So sweet, Xinyu. Cherish the person in front of you. This one is your perfect match. Xing Qianqian was using the same tactics against me. She used the means I had used before and forcibly tied me and Xinyu together with public opinion. What was more exciting was that I didn't see this news on the confession wall. It was Xie Junqing who shared it with me. After getting the materials from him last time, I hadn't chatted with him again. I asked him, did Xing Qianqian send it to you? Xie Junqing sent a screenshot. It was exactly what Xing Qianqian had sent him, and she also made up a lot of love stories about me and Xinyu. It was so wonderful that I thought she had hired a writer. Xing Qianqian did this probably because she was stimulated by me and Xie Junqing that day. She wanted to put an end to the possibility between me and him. How could I let her get what she wanted so easily? Trash should stay in the trash can. Xing Qianqian was destined to be with Xinyu. I took out the test paper I had done last night and took a photo to send to Xie Junqing. Senior, I've almost finished the previous test papers. I want to buy a few less-known test books to broaden my horizons, but I don't know much about which ones to buy. Are you free this weekend? Hearing this, Xie Junqing seriously shared a lot of official account articles and book lists with me. These are relatively less known, but maybe the major competition questions will focus on them. You can buy them and practice when you have time. I didn't answer whether I would buy them or not but replied to him, Senior, see you at 10 o'clock on Saturday morning at the city library. 10. In the following week, I didn't go to the hospital to see Xinyu again. Time seemed to have legs and, before I knew it, it was Saturday. When I arrived at the library, Xie Junqing was already waiting at the door. He was wearing a hat and a mask, in a clean white shirt and black trousers, with a tall and straight figure. Even though his face couldn't be seen, it still attracted the surrounding girls to look back frequently. He noticed my arrival, looked up, and waved to me. The library in the city center was very large. I deliberately took my time and wandered around aimlessly. Xie Junqing wasn't impatient, and whenever I picked up a book, he could talk about it at length. I was like a child who had found a fun toy, picking books from the first row of bookshelves to the last row. Whether it was profound mathematics and physics or long-standing history, nothing could stump Xie Junqing, until in the corner of the last row, I took out a colorful romance novel. What about this one? Xie Junqing's pupils suddenly contracted. The Runaway Bride of the Prince of the Capital Circle. After reading the title, Xie Junqing's ears turned red in an instant. I don't read these. As soon as he finished speaking, as if he realized something, he stammered and added an explanation. I didn't mean that this kind of book is bad. Everyone has their own preferences. It's just that I haven't read these. I was amused by his flustered look and stuffed the book into his hands. Then I'll treat Senior to read it. Consider it as broadening senior's knowledge and opening the door to a new world. Xie Junqing took it blankly. Ah, okay, thank you, Junior. I will read it carefully. Imagining that scene, I couldn't hold back the corners of my mouth and burst out laughing. 11. After Xie Junqing left, a girl came up to me with a camera. Miss, you and your boyfriend are so sweet, even random shots look great. The girl was the hired photographer I had arranged. She was very professional. Although we were just picking books, she managed to capture an extremely ambiguous atmosphere. It looked like a young couple on a date in the library on the weekend. If Xing Qianqian saw such photos, she would probably go crazy on the spot. Thinking of this, I immediately uploaded the photos. The title was, "Who Can Understand? I Was Sweet, Killed by a Young Couple While Visiting the Library." This picture, text post went viral even faster than Xingyu's confession video. Xing Qianqian was getting her hair done when she saw the news. She was so angry that she almost smashed the salon. However, the Xing family was rich and could afford to pay for it. After hearing this gossip, I silently asked my dad to add 2 more bodyguards to pick me up and drop me off. Coincidentally, my family was nouveau riche and also not short of money. Moreover, after being reborn, based on my memories of the previous life, I asked my dad to invest in many projects that were sure to make a profit. Some of them were movies and TV shows that were sure to be extremely profitable. I was completely relying on my memories of the previous life to cheat and pick up money everywhere. So in this life, even if Xing Qianqian convinced the Xing family to take action against me, our family would never end up heavily in debt and ruined as in the previous life. The days that followed were very ordinary. But it was like the calm before the storm. I knew that when Xing Qianqian was pushed to the limit, she would definitely take action against me at school. And this was the opportunity for me to completely bring her down. 12. One noon, I didn't take a lunch break but found a study room to do test papers. The study room was very quiet. I was wearing earphones, and there was only the rustling sound of the pen tip on the paper. The next second, a screeching sound interrupted the tranquility. It was the sound of a chair being moved. The earphones I was wearing were suddenly yanked off, and Xing Qianqian appeared in front of me. Jiang Qingxi, I thought you would be a coward who would hide, but I didn't expect you to be so bold as to be alone in the study room. Alone? I slightly raised my eyebrows and turned my head to look at the registration desk at the door. Oh, the student on duty today had been sent away. Xing Qianqian noticed my gaze and became even more arrogant. She took out a lighter and lit a cigarette, took a puff, and exhaled. In the smoke, she held the scarlet cigarette butt up to my face. Is this the face you used to seduce Xie Junqing? I moved my chair back 2 steps. Xing Qianqian sneered twice. Now you know you're afraid, it's too late. After she finished speaking, the other 2 girls who came in with her walked around the table and approached me from the left and right. What are you going to do, Xing Qianqian? This is campus bullying. These 2 shouts of mine made Xing Qianqian even more excited. The 2 girls grabbed my arms and pressed me firmly against the table. Xing Qianqian pinched the cigarette butt and moved it closer to my face. Don't worry, you'll be able to walk out of the study room upright. I'll just burn a few scars, let Xie Junqing see your ugly appearance, and then stay far away from you. Her tone was as if what she was going to do to me was perfectly justified. It was the brand from the upper class to the lower class. It was a kind of favor. I struggled and shouted, Xing Qianqian, I'll tell the head teacher. Tell the principal, you'll be punished. Xing Qianqian seemed to have heard a joke. Who are you going to tell? The head teacher, the principal. Even if they come right now, they wouldn't dare to say a word. With the equipment and buildings my Xing family donated to the school, they'll just lick my boots like lapdogs, understand? My lips trembled helplessly, and my eyes were filled with uncontrollable panic. Then, I closed my eyes and struggled violently as if facing death. The 2 girls quickly increased their strength to hold me down. I couldn't move my arms, and my legs kicked wildly, directly knocking over the table in front of me. The phone on the table slipped to the ground, and the screen was smashed to pieces. Xing Qianqian took the opportunity to step on it with her sharp-heeled shoes and grind it. After the phone flashed for a while, it was completely broken. I lowered my head and stopped moving. Xing Qianqian ordered triumphantly, drag her to the table at the back for me. I want to. She didn't finish her words and stood there in a daze with her pupils wide. The 2 people she had ordered twitched twice. Their legs went weak, and they fell to the ground directly. I stood in the middle, holding a stun gun for self-defense. Xing Qianqian, it's you who are stupid. 13. I had long guessed that Xing Qianqian would take action. so I started a live streaming study session 2 weeks ago. In the live streaming room, I stated that I was a senior high school student, only doing test questions and answering study-related questions. After I hired professionals to operate it and invested a large amount of money. More and more fans flooded into my live streaming room. There were parents and students, but they were all my mom fans. Today, I sent a notice early that I would live stream for a while at noon, doing test questions in the school study room, so when Xing Qianqian came in, I wasn't listening to music with my earphones on but was live streaming. The live streaming room recorded everything Xing Qianqian did and broadcast all her actions in real time. First, I pretended to be panicked and shouted Xing Qianqian's name, and then directly told everyone that this was a case of campus bullying. Then, I exposed their acts of working together to do evil and the fact that the head teacher and the principal had covered up for her. I worked so hard to act for so long just to guide Xing Qianqian to say these things and send her to an irreparable hell with her own hands. 14. Campus bullying is the hatred of all the people. Every time such a thing happens, it will set off a heated discussion on the internet. This doesn't require spending money at all, relying on the justice of everyone. It can top the hot search, and enthusiastic netizens called the police immediately. When I was successfully rescued, the police and reporters had already arrived. The principal and the head teacher were the last to come. I pretended to be a victim and huddled under the table, while the girl I had called in advance stepped forward to explain. I left a book in the study room this morning. I didn't expect to run into this scene by chance. I happened to have a stun gun with me, so I took advantage of their inattention to surprise attack them and then saved Qingzi. I can't imagine what would have happened to Qingzi if I had come one step later. She's so good looking and studies so well. If she were to be completely devastated because of this. She choked up at this point and didn't continue. And everyone could imagine what the result would be after that. Her interview was put on the internet by the reporter and attracted the attention of the government. The principal and the head teacher were also removed from their positions and investigated, and many bribery cases were uncovered. The new acting principal, in order to save the school's reputation, directly expelled Xing Qianqian and led the teachers and students to organize an anti-bullying association. All netizens jointly boycotted the products of the Xing family, and the stock price of the Xing group plummeted continuously. In order to protect their industry, the Xing family directly cut off relations with Xing Qianqian. Xing Qianqian completely became a discarded card. 15. A week after Xing Qianqian was expelled, Xing Yu was discharged from the hospital and returned to school. He had long hair covering his eyes, and he became very gloomy. Some classmates said that he had become like this because of a broken heart, but I knew that it wasn't because of a broken heart but because he had lost hope. After being reborn, I often wondered, did Xing Yu really love Xing Qianqian to the core? Would he still love her so much even after being bullied? In fact, no, Xing Yu didn't like Xing Qianqian. What he liked was the Xing family behind Xing Qianqian, the wealth. Marrying Xing Qianqian was the only way for him, a fake young master. To return to the Xing family, of course he had to hold on to all of this tightly and never let go. Now that Xing Qianqian had fallen from the status of a wealthy young lady, Xing Yu naturally lost hope. Xing Yu's presence in the class became weaker and weaker, and I still didn't let my guard down against him. After the results of the biology competition were announced, I successfully obtained the qualification for direct admission to University A. I didn't let the teacher announce this news but kept it a secret. I still came to the class to attend classes every day. Compared with before, I began to allocate energy to tutoring the classmates in the class who studied hard and were striving to change their lives. The last days passed by as fast as the wind. In the sweltering summer, the shrill chirping of cicadas kicked off the college entrance examination. When I went out of the classroom and downstairs, a towel suddenly stretched out from behind and covered my mouth. I struggled twice and finally fell down weakly. 16. When I woke up again, I was no longer at school. I was tied up in an unfinished building. Seeing that I woke up, Xing Yu pulled a smile at the corner of his mouth. Surprise, he leaned closer, put the phone in front of my eyes, and tapped the phone screen with his finger. Time's up, Qingzi. You have no chance to take the college entrance examination. From today on, you're no longer a god of learning. You'll become a loser like me. We're the same kind of people now. As he spoke, he even danced and cheered. Then, he somehow took out a large bouquet of roses and knelt in front of me. Qingzi, shall we be together? I'll treat you well. Let's start over together. Together. paw, I directly spat in his face. I rarely act so impolitely to people, unless the other person is not even human. Shinyu wiped his face in disbelief. You don't agree? Why don't you agree? He roared. How dare you not agree? How dare you? How dare you? As he shouted, he threw the roses away crazily, and rushed towards me with a knife in his hand. We have to be together, together forever, forever. At the moment when the sharp knife reached in front of me, it was kicked away by a foot. It was my bodyguard who appeared. He untied the rope for me and stood behind me. The other bodyguards had already subdued Shinyu and pinned him to the ground. I tidied up my messy hair. Shinyu, I never trusted you, so as soon as you were discharged from the hospital, I hired someone to keep an eye on you. As for the college entrance examination you mentioned, oh, I forgot to tell you, I, the god of learning, have already been recommended for admission. The moment the truth was revealed, Shinyu trembled all over and then roared loudly, Impossible, this is impossible. I clapped my hands, and the bodyguard brought another person up. It was Xing Qianqian. I pushed Xing Qianqian in front of him. This is your lover, the one you've been desperately pursuing. I wish you two a happy marriage and an early birth of a precious child in advance. Shinyu suddenly grabbed Xing Qianqian's wrist. You're not worthy. How can you, a vicious woman, be worthy of being with me? Xing Qianqian flew into a rage and slapped Shinyu directly. I'm not worthy. You're the one who's not worthy. A nanny's son dares to have designs on me. A toad wants to eat swan meat. Shinyu let go dejectedly, his expression desolate, like a trapped beast. The next second, he raised his head, broke free from the bodyguards with a ferocious face, and rushed straight towards Xing Qianqian. He pushed Xing Qianqian hard. Die, die, die. It's all your fault. You go die for me. Xing Qianqian lost her balance and was pushed back 5 or 6 meters by him. Her whole body fell directly from the building. Shinyu showed a look of joy. But before he could be happy, his body tilted and he was actually directly dragged down by Xing Qianqian. Bang, there was a loud noise. The two were tightly embraced, as if they were a couple deeply in love, falling to the ground together. The sun shone down, and large, bright red roses seemed to bloom on the ground. 17. Xing Qianqian became Shinyu's cushion and died on the spot. Shinyu was finally rescued, but he was left with a lifelong disability. He was taken away by the police for kidnapping and attempted murder. It was said that when he was taken away, his mental state was not normal. He kept saying that it shouldn't be like this, that everything was wrong, and that it was clearly not like this in his previous life. I guessed that after he was rescued, he was reborn, waking up after being reborn, facing a self who hadn't finished high school, was disabled, and had a criminal record. Anyone would not be able to bear it, right? But all of this was because of himself. He had to shoulder the consequences of his own actions. During the summer vacation, I took my parents on a national tour, mainly because the previous incident of Xing Qianqian's bullying had made my mother very uneasy. She kept repenting, thinking it was her fault. If I hadn't educated you to be upright and kind-hearted since you were a child, this wouldn't have happened. I hugged my mother tightly. The fault doesn't lie in being kind, we're not wrong. The kind-hearted help in the previous life and the vicious counter-attack in this life, neither was wrong. The mistake was just the choice at that moment, and in this life, in my life, I made the most correct choice. After that, life bloomed towards the sun, full of brilliance and splendor. Extra story, on the day I reported to University A, my parents were very worried and wished they could move the whole house for me. Finally, like a refugee, I secretly went to report alone. The corner of his forehead seemed to have been pierced by something sharp, and blood dripped down his face drop by drop. Me, Junior, do you need help? Your senior is really good at carrying boxes. I hesitated for a moment and was about to hand over the box when suddenly a pair of hands with distinct knuckles held the pole rod. Let me do it, Xie Juanqing's gentle voice sounded. He was wearing silver-rimmed glasses, a shirt and suit pants. His seemingly casual hair was full of careful styling. The cuffs of his shirt were folded up once, revealing his white as jade wrists. When pulling the suitcase, the muscles in his arms were clearly visible. He looked at me, the corners of his mouth raised, and his eyes seemed to be filled with stars. Junior, long time no see. I smiled silently. Long time no see. Senior. Story 2. Mom finally discovered the secret son Dad had hidden for 8 years. She swore to sever ties with him, even if it meant leaving with nothing. This time, I stopped her. Because I have been reborn, Dad is dying from a terminal illness, and once he passes, all his wealth will belong to Mom and me. Yeah. If Mom and Dad split up, would you choose to stay with Mom, When Mom asked me this question again, I no longer hesitated. I firmly told her, "Mom, don't get a divorce." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Do you know, that child your father had with another woman is only half a year younger than you? How can Mom swallow this bitterness? If we divorce, out of sight, out of mind, wouldn't it be better for you and Mom? You're all I have." "Mom, that's not good." "Why not?" she asked. "Because I have been reborn, in my past life, after my parents divorced. Mom left with nothing to fight for my custody, the house, the money, the company that Mom and Dad had built from scratch, all of it went to that woman and her child. 2 months after the divorce, Dad died from advanced stomach cancer. The only reason Mom learned about that woman and her child was because he was dying. He wanted to pave the way for his illegitimate son while unwilling to give up half of his wealth to Mom. He fought tooth and nail for my custody, forcing Mom to give up their jointly earned assets just to take me with her. Right after she got the divorce papers, he married the other woman. After his death, the woman and her son legally inherited all his property, and Mom and I were relentlessly pursued by her. Whether Mom tried to start a business or work, they sabotaged everything. Even when she tried to set up a street stall, they sent thugs to target her. To support me, Mom had to resort to working in bars, and even fell into prostitution. The other woman tormented Mom for 10 years. And on my 18th birthday, Mom jumped from the 21st floor of a building. Even after Mom's death, the woman didn't leave me alone. She paid people to bully me at school, spread lies that I was the illegitimate child, and claimed my mother was the homewrecker. Orphaned and alone, I was killed by a speeding truck one foggy night. The capital that besieged me and Mom came from the wealth the woman inherited from Dad. In this life, I will protect Mom and not let that despicable man succeed. Mom, do you believe in dreams?" I recounted everything that had happened. Mom muttered to herself, "Mom would never degrade herself to do such lowly things, nor would she ever abandon you." I know, but when pushed to the brink, who can guarantee they wouldn't grasp at the only lifeline available? Even if that lifeline is tainted, sometimes you have to hold your nose and grab it. Because of Dad's infidelity and deceit, Mom lost interest in managing the company. Dad took advantage of this, pretending to try to win Mom back, leading her to believe he still had feelings for her. Meanwhile, he took control of the company while Mom was distracted. Mom was skeptical, but her love for me was deeply ingrained. Even if it was just a dream, she would investigate. Mom went back to the company. That evening, she and Dad came home together. Dad's expression was tense and unpleasant. I approached him. "Dad, are you a dirty cucumber?" Dad was so angry he couldn't catch his breath for a long time. Netizens say that men who cheat are like dirty cucumbers. No matter how much you like them, you can't use them. Mom quickly covered my mouth. "Stay off the internet a bit, and don't spout nonsense or learn those nasty things." I nodded hastily. Mom let go of me, and I asked again, "Mom and Dad, are you still going to get a divorce?" Mom smiled. "Of course not. I've forgiven your father, and we three will continue to live well together." Dad's face was a mix of green and purple, and he scolded me a few times before returning to his room without having dinner. Mom's phone rang once, and she went to take a shower. I skillfully unlocked her phone. That woman, Wan Ling, was provoking Mom. She sent Mom photos of herself and Dad showing affection. The words were meant to provoke Mom to hurry up and divorce Dad. She insulted Mom by calling her a chicken that doesn't lay eggs, mocking her for not being as uninhibited as herself, and not winning Dad's affection. She also said that she and Dad were the true love. If it weren't for my maternal grandfather forcing Dad to marry Mom, they would have been a legitimate family. I replied for Mom, "I don't believe it. Your photos must be photoshopped." "Right, I remember Mr. Yuan has a big wart on the left side of his butt, but it's not in your photo." Wan Ling actually sent over a steamy video to provoke Mom further. It was shot in 360-degree high definition, clearly showing the large wart on Dad's left buttock. It was disgusting. I held back my disgust, downloaded the original photos and videos, and sent them from Mom's account to mine. After dinner, I opened my computer to import the videos and photos. I added thick mosaics over the sensitive areas of Dad and Wan Ling, and posted them on my social media. The caption read, "Auntie says she's very skilled, and Mom isn't as uninhibited as her. Now Dad despises Mom and wants to divorce her. What should Yaya do?" Yaya doesn't want to be a child without a dad. Crying loudly, "JPG, I'm not even 9 years old, posting this kind of dirty stuff. I shouldn't end up in jail, right?" While Dad was trying to emotionally manipulate Mom, Wan Ling kept provoking Mom to get her to divorce sooner. Their schemes were loud and clear. I knew Dad would be angry, but I didn't expect him to be furious to this extent. He slapped me across the face, and I lost 2 teeth. Oh God, it hurt so much. But compared to the excruciating pain of being run over by a truck, this slap felt like a light drizzle. Mom jumped on him, scratching him and leaving his face a bloody mess. The marks were ugly and vivid. He ordered me to delete the video, and I obediently complied, but deleting it was useless. Who knows how many people had saved their video overnight. Several of my social media friends are always on the forefront of gossip, and I trust their fighting spirit won't disappoint Dad. Dad yelled at Mom. Look at what a fine daughter you've raised. He slammed the door and left, my mouth full of blood. Mom tried to take me to the hospital while crying. I refused. Mom, when there's trouble, we should go to the police. Mom, feeling sorry for me, initially wanted to take me to the hospital but ended up being dragged by me to the police station, bleeding all the way there. Once inside, I finally vomited, with my mouth full of blood. I shakily extended my hand to a kind police officer. Holding the 2 teeth I had kept, Auntie, Yaya wants to report a crime. After years of having things go his way, this was probably Dad's first time in a police station, and it was because he had beaten his own daughter. Despite his successful years and confident demeanor, he had never lost face like this before. His face was a mix of green and purple, and unpredictable. My teeth were gone, and my face was swollen like a proofed bun. The police officer said my injuries were severe enough for administrative punishment. If Mom and I insisted, they could detain Dad for 5 days or impose a fine. We could put Dad behind bars. I couldn't have asked for more. This bought my mom an extra 5 days. Dad used the private video he took of me to stir up trouble. I quickly found my old children's phone, pulled up the video between Wanling and my dad, and turned the brightness all the way up to show the uncles and aunties present. In the video, you can hear Auntie saying Dad likes her because she's skilled, and she even bore him a son, urging Mom to divorce Dad sooner, even though Dad is no prize. Yaya, don't want them to divorce. I don't want to be without a dad. I just wanted to seek advice from family friends on social media. As I spoke of the painful parts, my tears flowed like rivers, washing over my swollen cheeks. If there was a crack in the ground, I'm sure Dad would have dove right in. After an awkward moment, the uncles and aunties compassionately explained to me that posting such inappropriate content on social media is illegal. Since I'm young and didn't know better, and I had deleted it promptly, they just gave me a verbal warning. Now everyone knows about Dad's betrayal, and they despise him even more. With Mom's and my persistence, and the truth laid bare, Dad could only face 5 days of tears behind bars. Relying on just a couple of teeth, I managed to buy Mom another 5 days, which felt like a good deal. Now wasn't the time to feel sorry for myself. After seeing the doctor, I persuaded Mom to go to the company. I also told her that several key positions at the company were held by Wanling's relatives. Mom, not wanting to waste time, asked a friend to find 2 strong female bodyguards to look after me, then rushed to the company to handle the situation. Dad could be described as a typical Phoenix man from the stories online, having grown up in a poor family supported by a widowed mother who struggled to put him through school. Mom's family wasn't particularly well off either, but fortunately, her father had once been allocated an apartment by his employer. The apartment was in a good location in the city center. After Mom and Dad graduated and got married, Grandpa sold the apartment to give them some startup capital. With that money, they turned a small workshop into a factory now worth nearly $1 billion. Although Mom is very smart and handles the company's affairs with ease, she is heavily influenced by her emotions. Dad had previously manipulated her using his and my emotional ties to persuade her to sign over everything to him. Mom thought she could start over. But the world is ever changing. And with me as a burden and Wanling constantly on her heels, it was not just about starting a business but even supporting the 2 of us was difficult. It seems a child is always a mother's weak spot. Without me, Mom would never have willingly given up her hard-earned achievements. I don't want to repeat the tragedies of my past life. In this life, it's my turn to protect Mom. After 5 days, Dad must have harbored deep resentment towards me and Mom. When he got out, he didn't even come home, but went straight to the love nest he had set up for Wanling and her son. Because of the video incident, Dad became the laughingstock of the company. Mom said that on Dad's first day back at work, he was like a gorilla entering a crowd, surrounded and quietly discussed by everyone. Some cynical aunties secretly cursed him and rolled their eyes at him, fresh out of jail and facing such treatment. He lost his temper at the office and almost drove those people out. Of course, Mom stopped him. Knowing that Mom had driven out Wanling's relatives from the company, Dad had a huge fight with her, their relationship irreparably broken. Dad knew he could no longer manipulate Mom emotionally to get his way. He agreed to divide half of his assets with Mom for a peaceful divorce. Mom learned from Dad's personal doctor about his illness, knowing that even if the surgery was successful, he didn't have long to live, which made it even less likely for her to agree. All of this confirmed what Mom and I had said: she would never trust Dad again. Dad also knew he didn't have much time left. Dragging this out wasn't in his favor, but Mom absolutely refused a peaceful separation, so he filed for divorce in court. Holding my hand, Mom pleaded with the court staff, "Even though he was at fault first, my daughter and I are willing to forgive him. Our relationship has been so strong. We shouldn't give up on our marriage just because he strayed. I'd rather dismantle 10 temples than break up one marriage. I request that his application for divorce be rejected." Tearfully, I said, "Daddy, Yaya doesn't want to lose you." Dad looked frustrated. He couldn't provide any proof that his relationship with Mom had broken down. His affairs only proved that he couldn't control his desires, but both Mom and I are willing to forgive him. Mom embraced his faults with an ocean's breadth of tolerance, hoping only that he would return to the family. After a long struggle, his first attempt at divorce ended in failure. If Dad wants a divorce again, he has to wait another 6 months if Mom doesn't agree to it. Sadly, he couldn't wait that long. Mom said that Dad took a lot of money from the company behind her back. He was planning for the future of Wanling and her son. He feared they wouldn't get anything if he died. He even made a will in secret, leaving his share of assets to his illegitimate child. Worried, I asked Mom, "Why don't you stop Dad?" Mom told me not to worry too much, that she would handle things outside and wouldn't let unrelated people take advantage of us. I told Mom everything I knew in great detail. Dad couldn't deceive her anymore. I believe in Mom's ability to handle this without suffering any loss. In my past life, Mom and I suffered too much. I'm not heartless, but I don't want to give a single penny to that mother and son. Dad's actions deeply disappointed me. He never came home. So I had to go find him where he lived with Wanling and her son. I knew where they were staying. He had set up Wanling and her son in one of the top villa areas in our city. I had been here in my past life too, but at that time, I was begging Wanling. I knelt at their villa door, pleading with her to be generous and spare my mom and me. Regrettably, she pushed me to the ground with a kick, her fancy high heels pressing against my face as she laughed brilliantly. She said, "This is karma. It's your mother's fault for interfering in our love." The sharp heel of her shoe painfully poked my face, and some onlookers, upon hearing her words, spat at me and called me shameless. She said she would spare my mom if I knelt to her. And I really did kneel. She laughed even more joyously, supporting her son as they both shook with laughter. The innocent yet insipid face of her son nearly made me vomit. Now, it was my turn to collect some interest. I went to their villa with the female bodyguard my mom had given me, holding a photo of her and Dad, asking from the entrance all the way to their villa. Their door was wide open. The woman who used to boast in front of me and my mom was watering the garden with her son at the entrance. It seemed like a peaceful moment. Wanling auntie. Wanling was startled when she saw me, and seeing the group of neighborhood grandmothers and mothers behind me, her cheeks turned even paler. People always wondered why her husband was hardly at home. She had the nerve to tell me he was a busy company CEO flying here and there. Turns out she's just a mistress who can't be seen in daylight. Shameless. People thought she was gentle and kind. Who knew she was like this behind closed doors? Quite an eye-opener. Appearances can be deceiving. Who knows whether behind a good facade lies a human or a ghost? People of such poor character, now we know. And we should avoid her in the future to prevent a bad influence on our children. Their comments snapped Wanling back to reality. She pretended not to know me, repeatedly saying I had the wrong person. Lying requires others to believe you. I showed everyone the photo, and clearly, they didn't believe her. Their comments grew harsher, and she angrily told us to get lost. I wiped my tears and began to plead. Auntie Wanling, please don't let Dad divorce Mom, okay? If you leave Dad, I can give you however much money you want. You like Dad's money, right? I also have a lot of New Year's money. With a crash, I smashed the piggy bank I was holding, scattering 1 and 50-cent coins all over the ground. I picked them up one by one and placed a handful into her hands. The disdain from the onlookers intensified. Her son, Yuan Xiao, lunged at me, aiming to strike, but I quickly grabbed his ear, causing him to howl in pain. Wanling tried to intervene, but was held back by my 2 bodyguards. As I cried, I cursed. and while cursing, I kicked and scratched ferociously. I lost all reason in my rage, tightly grasping Yuan Shao and beating him mercilessly. If it weren't for your father, he wouldn't have abandoned me. You stole my father. It's all your fault, all your fault. Yuan Shao, who was shorter than me by half a head and developed more slowly as a child, stood no chance against me. He cried out in pain from my beating. He's not my brother, he's a devil, born with original sin. He and his shameless mother took everything from my mother and me, then crazily sought revenge against us. In an effort to salvage Wanling's reputation, the increasingly sensible Yuan Shao paid people to spread rumors at my school, claiming my mother was shameless and broke up their family, leading to my father's death. He even instigated some girls to lock me in the bathroom, tear up my textbooks and homework, falsely accuse me of cheating on exams, and have someone splash dirty water on me on my way home. He is rotten to the core. I won't let him off just because he's still a child. When Dad arrived, Yuan Shao was already bruised and in a sorry state. Wanling, holding her son, cried pitifully, while Dad, raising his hand, still wanted to hit me. My bodyguards shielded me, cautiously watching Dad, their hands half clenched, ready to restrain him if he attempted to strike. Peeking through the gap between my protectors, I straightened my neck defiantly at Dad. If you want to end up in jail again, go ahead, hit me, kill me. You knocked out 2 of my teeth last time. You want to hit me again, don't you? All I wanted was to protect our family. What did I do wrong? You shamelessly flirt with others. I'm truly cursed to have a father like you. The crowd watching grew larger, encircling us completely. Their comments shifted towards criticizing Wanling and Dad for their shamelessness. My words left him clutching his chest, staggering, and finally collapsing in the garden from the shock. I didn't expect Dad to be so weak that he'd faint like that. I immediately cried out and dialed for an ambulance. As the ambulance arrived, Wanling wanted to bring her bruised son with us to the hospital, but I forcefully pushed her away. Dad's anger led to a series of adverse reactions, and his cancer cells spread even more severely. The doctor said that without immediate surgery, he might not survive the month. Immediate surgery had a 30% chance of success. At best, the surgery would only extend his life by a year or so. When Dad woke up, the first thing he did was try to scold me, but Mom promptly slapped him hard. Since you're already bedridden, just behave yourself. Dad was furious, but he was too weak to even walk a few steps. No match for Mom. I pressed him back onto the bed and relayed the doctor's advice, asking for his decision. I don't know if he had undergone surgery in his previous life, but he didn't last long and soon passed away. Dad looked devastated. It was clear he was deeply upset, but what did that have to do with Mom and me? Regardless of his choice, he couldn't escape death eventually. He ultimately chose to undergo the surgery. I wasn't surprised, as fearful of death as he was. He wouldn't miss any chance at life. Grandma died early, and now he had only Mom and me as his immediate family. Mom signed the consent form for the surgery. He requested to see Wanling and Yuan Shao before the surgery, but Mom firmly denied it. He even tried to contact them by phone, but Mom had confiscated his mobile. He cursed and smashed everything in the hospital room. I held Mom's hand. Since Dad feels this way, let them come. Mom was clueless about the whole situation. She just felt that the mother and son duo were repulsive, but seeing my insistence, she agreed. Wanling brought Yuan Shao to the hospital, and she burst into tears as she threw herself onto Dad's body. Coincidentally, the doctor came by for a round of checkups. I took the initiative to introduce Wanling and her son to them. Facing everyone's gaze, Wanling's pale, unremarkable face turned extremely awkward, especially since her son with Dad didn't seem much younger than me. Dad's expression was also quite awful. He had accumulated so much reputation over the years, and it seemed he had lost most of it during this period. With tears in my eyes, I pleaded with the doctor, even though what Dad has done is indefensible, I don't want him to die. Please, uncles and aunties, you must save him. Dad's face turned green. What a mess this had turned into. After the doctor left, Mom contacted some middle and senior level colleagues from Dad's company to visit him. As soon as they left, Wanling tried to leave with Yuan Shao, but Mom's female bodyguards, whom she had assigned to me, stopped them. Since Dad wanted you to come see him, you might as well see enough. After the company people left, Dad's classmates came, elementary school, middle school, high school, university classmates. Mom contacted everyone she knew, and even those she didn't, making every effort to reach out to them. Wave after wave of visitors came, and Mom introduced them each time. Dad was stripped of his dignity so thoroughly, it was as if he was socially dead. Wanling wasn't faring much better, and her son Yuan Shao was even pulling a long face, hiding in the corner without speaking. Mom took a gentle sip from her thermos. We still have some distant relatives back in our hometown. If you like, I can ask Wanling to bring the child over tomorrow. Dad weakly shooed Wanling and her son away. Eventually, Dad settled down. The wait for the surgery was long and agonizing. Perhaps Dad was bored, or perhaps he was delusional, but he grabbed my hand and earnestly said, Yu, Xiao Xiao is your biological brother, Dad's only son, and the root of our old Yuan family. Can't you treat him well? I frowned, having never realized how deeply he valued sons over daughters. I pulled out 2 teeth from my pocket, the ones he had knocked out earlier, and shook them in front of him. Do you think that's possible? Dad became furious and embarrassed. Which parent doesn't discipline their child? I've been good enough to you. Look at our hometown. Which girl has a life as good as yours? Don't ignore your blessings. His words truly disgusted me. Dad, I think you're shameless, relying on Grandpa's support to start a business, finding women while Mom was pregnant, having an illegitimate child who is only half a year younger than me. Now that you're close to death, you want to trick Mom into leaving everything to your illegitimate child. You say you've been good to me, but I haven't felt it at all. You pride yourself on being high class, but all you have are feudal leftovers clogging your brain, wanting to take all the good things from Mom for your son outside. I've never seen a more despicable old man than you. Someone like you probably goes straight to hell when they die. Dad's trembling fingers pointed at me. I slapped his hand down. What did you teach me before? Pointing fingers at people is rude. You. He stuttered without end. I found his speech annoying and shoved an unpeeled apple into his mouth. Shut up, scumbag, still trying to brainwash me to treat your illegitimate child well. You're really too confident in yourself. If I didn't have the memories of my past life, I might have actually believed your nonsense. The day of the surgery finally arrived. He was wheeled into the operating room. Mom and I waited outside the operating room door. Maybe because I already knew his fate from my past life, I wasn't nervous at all. I even felt a hidden sense of anticipation. Wanling actually came with Yuan Shao. I stood up, and Yuan Shao instantly hid behind Wanling. I scoffed lightly. Coward. Mom glanced at Wanling expressionlessly and said nothing. Wanling approached with an awkward smile. Sister Chiwen, I came to see old Yuan. Mom treated her as if she were air, not sparing her an extra glance. From morning till afternoon, the lights in the operating room finally changed. A moment later, the doctors walked out of the operating room, the lead doctor looking very serious, his gaze towards me and Mom carrying a hint of pity. You should say whatever you need to say to him soon. Behind me, a scream shattered the air. I turned to see Wanling crouching on the ground, wailing loudly. Dad's surgery had failed, and he was pushed back into the ward. The doctor said he didn't have much time left and advised us to prepare for the end. Dad's face was deathly pale, a shadow of doom hanging over him. Upon seeing Wanling and Yuan Shao, a startling brightness burst from his eyes. Xiao Xiao. I slammed the caravan door shut. Still Xiao Xiao. Go back and wait for death. 12. After moving Dad back into his original room, Mom began to methodically arrange his affairs. Even in front of him, she decided how many wreaths were needed and what kind of urn to use. Whenever I remember the tragedy of Mom and me in my past life and see Dad's pitiful state of barely living, I feel gratified. Now, during the summer vacation, I have plenty of time to spend with Dad. I stayed by his bedside, chattering about household matters. Wanling and her son came again, but Mom chased them out. Do you know what kind of life she's leading now? In the housing estate you arranged, she's shunned by everyone, a veritable street rat. She even wants to move out, but too bad, Mom has frozen all the assets under your name, so she definitely can't use her supplementary card. Once your funeral is settled, Mom will be free to sue and reclaim every penny you spend on her. She'll have to cough up as much as she spent. Dad stared at me intently, his voice hoarse. Xiao Xiao, Xiao Xiao. Even close to death, his thoughts were still with his illegitimate child. I couldn't help but sneer. Do you think you've settled everything by making a will? Whether your will has any legal effect is still uncertain. It's said that illegitimate children have inheritance rights, but who can prove that Yuan Shao is truly your biological child? You think you can rest easy just because you've done a paternity test in secret? Mom consulted a lawyer, and that test is worthless. Mom has even pre-arranged your funeral services, and without her and my permission, Wanling will have no chance to do a legal paternity test for Yuan Shao. Yuan Shao and Wanling won't get a penny of our money. Dad convulsed. shaking for a while before gradually calming down. His eyes were filled with hatred. If looks could kill, I would have died 1,000 times under his piercing gaze. What did we do wrong? It's just that we didn't want others to take what rightfully belongs to us. If Dad had any conscience in our past life and hadn't been so calculating towards Mom, we wouldn't have ended up so miserably. He is the true culprit for our downfall. I met his gaze. Just you wait and see. 13. Dad passed away that very midnight. These last moments, he didn't live easily. I think if I hadn't angered him, he might have lived a day or two longer. I admit it was intentional. I just didn't want him to leave this world comfortably. Why should he get off scot-free after all he did to hurt Mom and me? I just couldn't let him die peacefully. Still concerned about Wanling and her son, Mom methodically arranged his affairs. Returning from the crematorium, we were confronted by Wanling and her son, who had come seeking us. Knowing that Dad had died, Wanling and her son were devastated. I don't know how much of their grief was genuine, but without Dad to support them, surely some of it was sincere. Mom didn't stop them. They participated in Dad's funeral from start to finish. After my father's funeral was handled, the issue of his estate came next on the agenda. Wanling claimed that Yuan Shao was my father's biological son and should inherit the assets under my father's name. Unfortunately, her claims were unsupported by any evidence, and neither my mother nor I acknowledged them. With my father gone, reduced to ashes, it was impossible to verify Yuan Zhao's paternity through any means involving my father directly. Not only could she not lay claim to the so-called inheritance, but she was also expected to repay the money she had previously spent. My mother unapologetically submitted all the collected evidence. Every penny my father spent on her and her son was part of the communal property belonging to him and my mother, and Wanling was obligated to repay it. Firstly, there was the villa registered under Wanling's name, then the large bank transfers, and the luxury goods and jewelry my father had purchased for her. The evidence laid out one by one was too substantial for Wanling to simply dismiss as gifts. Confused and overwhelmed, Wanling sought guidance and incredibly, brought a family disputes TV show to confront my mother and me. She tearfully portrayed my mother as heartless in front of the cameras, accusing her of ruthlessly cutting off her and her son after my father's death. She naively thought to sway public opinion to force my mother and me into submission. Did she think everyone would sympathize with her warped view of morality? Exposing her most disgraceful side to the public like this was something I had never seen before. Gaining sympathy is easy, especially since my mother and I were the actual victims here. My mother, holding back tears, recounted her struggles while talking to the mediator. Elle is only half a year older than that child, and they've been deceiving us right under my nose. I never left the factory even during my maternity leave. When we were just starting, there was so much to handle: finance, procurement, customer service, vehicle logistics. I was behind all of it. The day I got out of confinement, I rode an electric scooter to handle tax matters, and when I returned, caught in a heavy downpour, I waited under a bridge with my child until dark to save on taxi fare. Starting a business was incredibly hard, and these were real experiences my mother had gone through. By the end, she was visibly emotional. Wanling only saw my mother's success and was blind to her sacrifices. While my mother ran around for the factory, my father found time to engage in affairs. How could one not be furious? My mother was merely protecting her legal assets, completely justified. Wanling then changed her story, claiming she was also deceived by my father, as she had not known he was already married. Considering my father was already in his 30s and somewhat established when I was born, and not always around, how could she assume he was single? Everyone knew better. Such excuses might fool a child, but no one else. Her denial looked incredibly weak under the scrutiny of the camera. She begged my mother, for my father's sake, not to be so merciless towards her and her son. We were already so wealthy. She wasn't asking for Yuan Shao to inherit anything significant, just for my mother to spare them a little, which wouldn't affect us at all. She spoke eloquently, appearing very pitiful. Unfortunately for her, the decision lay with my mother, not the mediators or the cameraman. After recounting past events, my mother then presented evidence of the expenses my father had incurred for Wanling right in front of the camera. $1 million villa gifted away. Luxury cars worth tens of millions were placed one after another, and the tens of millions spent on her over the years. Even Yuan Zhao's elite school fees were dozens of times more expensive than my primary school fees. Their lifestyle was far more lavish than anything my mother and I had indulged in. When this mediation session was broadcast, it did nothing to help Wanling's case. in fact. It attracted a barrage of criticism toward her. Gossip seekers even dug up Wanling's social media accounts. Almost every post showcased her lavish lifestyle, flaunting her mansion, luxury cars, and jewelry. When upset, she'd shop at high-end stores or spontaneously travel, one day flying to Tokyo for sashimi, the next to London to feed pigeons. She portrayed herself as a pampered lady of leisure who lacked nothing. Her show of wealth did attract tens of thousands of followers on her platform, many of whom commented on how they envied her lifestyle. The stark contrast between her public persona and her actual situation drew severe backlash, attracting countless insults from netizens on her social media accounts. Perhaps unable to withstand the attacks from netizens, Wanling quickly deleted all her posts and set her account to private. I only occasionally took time to follow their updates. Knowing that they were not doing well brought me comfort. After a lawsuit that lasted over half a year, she got back her villa and all the luxury cars, jewelry, and goods under her name. The money that had already been spent also had to be returned within a set timeframe. My mother quickly sold off the villa at a low price. The buyer then evicted her and her son from the villa. Yuan Shao could no longer afford the tuition at his prestigious school. Not long after, he dropped out and transferred to a very ordinary private elementary school. Wanling has always relied on her father's financial support, as she neither works nor has any source of income herself. Accustomed to a lavish lifestyle, the money she has is never enough. This lifetime has seen her and her son become homeless. Due to failing to repay the money on time, Wanling has been labeled as a person who has breached trust. Having lived a pampered life without any practical skills, she simply cannot support herself. During a cold winter, Wanling, dressed in thin clothes, brought Yuan Shao to her mother's home, crying profusely. She begged her mother for forgiveness. Stepping forward, I offered Wanling a sum of money on the condition that she kneels before our mother. After hesitating, Wanling, pulling Yuan Shao along, knelt down before our mother. Our mother, not expecting her to actually kneel, quickly moved away. That's the difference between people, I suppose. No matter what, our mother would never stoop so low as to humiliate a woman outright. I took a card out of my pocket and threw it to Wanling, saying, "There's 50,000 yuan in here, go change Yuan Zhao's surname." In the past, 50,000 yuan would have been nothing to her, but times have changed, and now this amount of money is significant. She changed Yuan Zhao's registration and sent us a photo. I deliberately took the photo to our father's grave to show him. I'm not sure if he could see it, but if he could, it would probably infuriate him again. Before he died, he still schemed against my mother and me for his son. Now, a mere 50,000 yuan made Wanling change her son's surname without hesitation. I also persuaded my mother to change her surname. It was a way to completely sever ties with our father and our past life. Later on, my mother mentioned she had seen Wanling a few times at social gatherings. She still maintained her delicate, demure facade, constantly changing partners. As she aged, she eventually set up a small stall to support herself. As for Yuan Shao, having grown up engaging in petty theft, he couldn't shake off those bad habits and had been in and out of trouble due to stealing. At 18, he crossed the wrong people and ended up severely disabled, losing a hand and his sight, which rendered him completely helpless. My mother and I did not pursue their total ruin, but their lives turned out to be rather dismal. The entire story ends with the revelation of a secret child my father had hidden for 8 years, which my mother eventually discovered. She was determined to disassociate completely from him, even if it meant leaving with nothing. This time, I stopped her. Because I had been reborn, Dad was dying of a terminal illness. Once he passed away, all his assets would belong to my mother and me. Yeah, if your parents were to separate, would you want to stay with Mom? My mother asked me again, and this time, I didn't hesitate. I firmly told her, Mom, don't get a divorce. Tears welled up in her eyes. Did you know that child your father had with another woman is only half a year younger than you? How could Mom swallow such humiliation? If we divorce, out of sight, out of mind, would you stay with Mom? You're all I have left. Mom, no, I replied. Why? She asked. Because I have been reborn. In my past life, after my parents divorced, my mom left with nothing just to fight for my custody, losing all the assets she and my father had earned together. Just 2 months after the divorce, my father died of late-stage stomach cancer. He revealed the existence of the mother and child duo only because he was dying. He wanted to pave the way for his illegitimate child but couldn't bear to let my mother take half of his wealth. He insisted on having my custody, and to take me with her. My mom had to give up all the property they had worked for together. She had just received the divorce papers when he married his mistress. After his death, the story continued, the woman who broke up our family legally inherited all of his wealth. My mother and I were ruthlessly ousted by this third party. No matter whether my mother tried to start a business or find work, their interference thwarted her every attempt. They even went so far as to target her when she tried to sell goods at a street stall, hiring thugs to harass her. To support me, my mother was forced into a life of entertaining men at bars, and eventually, she fell into prostitution. This third party tormented my mother for 10 years, and on my 18th birthday, my mother jumped from the 21st floor of a building. Even after her death, they didn't leave me alone. They paid people to bully me at school, twisting the truth to label me as an illegitimate child and painting my mother as the homewrecker. Without any family, I was alone and vulnerable, and one foggy night, I was hit and killed by a speeding truck. The wealth used to persecute me and my mother came from the inheritance that the third party received from my father. In this life, I am determined to protect my mother and not let that despicable man succeed. Mom, do you believe in dreams? I shared with my mother everything that had happened, murmuring to herself. She said, Mom would never degrade herself to do such demeaning things. Nor would she ever abandon you, I know. But when pushed to the brink, who can guarantee they wouldn't grasp at the only lifeline available? Even if that lifeline is filthy, sometimes you have to hold your nose and grab it. Because of the betrayal and deceit from Dad, Mom became disheartened and neglected the company. Dad took this opportunity to pretend to reconcile with Mom, misleading her to believe he still cared for her. Meanwhile, he took control of the company while she wasn't paying attention. Mom was skeptical. But her love for me was deep-seated. Even if it was just a dream, she was determined to seek the truth. Mom went back to the company. That evening, she returned home with Dad, who looked visibly upset. I approached him. Dad, are you a dirty cucumber? He was so angry, he couldn't catch his breath for a while. Online, they say a man who cheats is like a dirty cucumber. No matter how much you liked it, it's no longer usable. Mom quickly covered my mouth. Spend less time online. Don't talk nonsense and stop learning such vulgar things. I nodded hastily. After Mom let go, I asked, Mom, Dad, are you still going to get a divorce? Mom smiled. Of course not. Mom has forgiven Dad, and we will be fine as a family of 3. Dad's face turned a mix of green and purple. He scolded me briefly, and without eating dinner, he went back to his room. Mom's phone beeped, and she went to take a shower. I skillfully unlocked her phone. Wan Ling, the other woman, was provoking Mom again, sending her passionate photos of herself and Dad. Her words were taunting, urging Mom to hurry up and divorce Dad. She insulted Mom by calling her a barren hen, mocking her for not being as uninhibited as herself, failing to win Dad's affection. She also claimed that she and Dad were the true love, that if it hadn't been for my grandfather forcing Dad to marry Mom, they would have been a legitimate family. I replied for Mom, I don't believe it, your photo must be photoshopped. I remember Uncle Yuan has a big mole on the left side of his buttocks, but it's not in your photo. Wan Ling actually sent a steamy video in response. To provoke Mom, it was shot in 360-degree high definition, clearly showing Dad's mole on his left buttock. It was disgusting. I held back my nausea, downloaded the original images and videos, and sent them from Mom's account to mine. After dinner, I opened my laptop to import the videos and photos. I heavily pixelated the critical parts involving Dad and Wan Ling, and posted it to my social circle. The caption read, Auntie says she's very skilled, unlike Mom who isn't as uninhibited. Dad now despises Mom and wants to divorce her. What should I do? Yaya doesn't want to be a child without a father. Crying loudly, I'm not even 9 years old yet. Sending such nasty stuff shouldn't land me in jail, right? Dad is playing the emotional card with Mom while Wan Ling is provoking Mom, hoping she'll divorce soon. They're both quite calculating. I knew Dad would be angry, but I didn't expect him to explode like this. He slapped me across the face, and I lost 2 teeth. Oh God, it hurt so much. But compared to the excruciating pain of being run over by a truck, this slap felt like a light drizzle. Mom lunged at him and scratched his face, leaving it a bloody mess. It was quite a sight. He ordered me to delete the video, and I obediently did so, but deleting it was pointless. Who knows how many people saved that video overnight? Among my contacts, there are several aunts who are always eager to gossip, and I trust their determination won't disappoint Dad. Dad cursed Mom. Look at the fine daughter you've raised. He stormed out, slamming the door. My mouth was full of blood, and Mom, crying, wanted to take me to the hospital. I refused. Mom, when in trouble, we should go to the police. Despite her concern for me, Mom was persuaded to take me to the police station instead, bleeding all the way there. I finally vomited as soon as we arrived at the station. With my mouth bloody, I shakily extended my hand to a kind policewoman, holding the 2 teeth I had kept. Auntie, Yaya wants to report a crime. It must have been Dad's first time in a police station, especially for assaulting his own daughter, after years of smooth sailing. This was a new low for him. His face was a mix of green and purple. Utterly humiliated, the policewoman said my injuries were severe enough for a public security punishment. If Mom and I insisted, Dad could be detained for 5 days or fined. I was more than willing to have Dad locked up, giving Mom 5 more days. Dad accused me of sharing his private video. I quickly pulled up the video of Wanling and Dad on my child's phone, turning up the brightness for everyone to see. Dad said this video shows Auntie saying she's good at what she does, even having a son for Dad, and urging Mom to divorce him soon. Although Dad is no good, Yaya doesn't want them to divorce. Yaya doesn't want to be without a dad. Yaya just wanted to get advice from family friends online. I burst into tears, my swollen cheeks drenched with them. If there was a hole in the ground, Dad would surely have dived right in. After an awkward moment, the officers kindly explained to me that sharing such material online was illegal. However, since I was young and had deleted it promptly, they just gave me a verbal warning. Now everyone knew about Dad's betrayal, and their disdain for him deepened. Due to our persistence and the evidence, Dad had no choice but to face 5 days behind bars. With 2 lost teeth, I bought Mom 5 days of time, which felt like a good deal to me. Now wasn't the time to feel sorry for myself. After seeing the doctor, I urged Mom to go to her company. I also told her that several key positions at the company were held by Wanling's relatives. Mom, not wanting to delay, quickly arranged for 2 robust female bodyguards to look after me and rushed off to handle things at work. Dad is what you might call a Phoenix man online, from a poor family background, raised by a struggling widowed mother who sacrificed a lot for his education. While Mom's family wasn't particularly wealthy either, luckily, my grandfather's workplace had once awarded him a house in the city. The location is quite good. After my parents graduated and got married, my grandfather sold his house to give them some startup capital. With that money, they turned a small workshop run by just the 2 of them into a factory now valued at nearly $1 billion. Although my mom is very smart and handles company matters efficiently and orderly, she is very emotional. In her previous life, my dad played on her emotions, persuading her to leave everything behind. Mom thought she could start over, but the world is ever-changing, with me as her burden, and Wanling chasing after her relentlessly. It's not just about starting a business, it's hard even just to support the 2 of us. It seems like children are always the weak spot for most mothers, if not for me. Why would Mom willingly give up the results of her years of hard work? I don't want to repeat the tragedies of my past life, this life. It's my turn to protect my mom. It's been 5 days since he went in. Dad must be filled with hatred towards Mom and me. After coming out, he didn't even come home but went straight to live in the love nest he built for Wanling and her son. Because of the video incident, Dad became the laughingstock of the company. Mom said that on the first day Dad went back to work, it was like a chimpanzee entering a crowd, quietly stared and whispered about by everyone. Some cynical aunts secretly cursed him behind his back and rolled their eyes at him. Fresh out of jail and facing such treatment, he lost his temper at work and almost kicked those people out of the company. Of course, Mom stopped him from doing that. Knowing that Mom had kicked out Wanling's relatives from the company, Dad had a huge fight with her. Their relationship completely deteriorated. And Dad knew he could no longer manipulate Mom emotionally to get his way. He offered to split his assets with Mom and have a peaceful divorce. Mom learned from Dad's personal doctor about his illness, that even with successful surgery, he didn't have much time left, which made it even less likely for her to agree. All these facts supported what Mom and I discussed. She would never trust Dad again. Dad also knew he didn't have much time left. He was just dragging things out with us, something he couldn't afford to do. But Mom didn't agree to an amicable separation, so he filed for divorce in court. Holding my hand, Mom tearfully told the court staff, although he was at fault first, both my daughter and I are willing to forgive him. We have such a good relationship. We shouldn't give up on our marriage just because he strayed. I also cried, saying, Daddy, you doesn't want to let you go. Dad looked very frustrated. He couldn't provide evidence that his relationship with Mom was beyond repair. His affair with Wan Ling only proved he couldn't control his desires, but Mom and I were willing to forgive him. Mom, with her vast capacity for forgiveness, hoped he would return to the family. After a long struggle, his first divorce lawsuit ended in failure. If Dad wanted to divorce again, he would have to wait 6 months if Mom didn't agree. Unfortunately, he couldn't wait that long. Mom told me that Dad had secretly taken a lot of money from the company for Wan Ling and her son. He was afraid they wouldn't get anything after his death. He even made a will in secret, leaving his share of the assets to his illegitimate child. I was worried and asked Mom, "Why don't you stop Dad?" Mom told me not to worry too much. She would handle things outside, and she would never let unrelated people take advantage of us. I told Mom everything I knew in detail. Dad couldn't deceive her anymore. I believe in Mom's ability not to be taken advantage of. In my past life, Mom and I had suffered too much. I'm not heartless. I don't want to give a single penny to that mother and son. Dad's actions really disheartened me. He never came home, so I had to go to the residence he arranged for Wan Ling and her son. I know where they live. He placed Wan Ling and her son in one of the top villa areas in our city. I had been here in my past life, too, at that time. I was seeking Wan Ling's help. I knelt at the gate of their villa, pleading for her to be magnanimous and spare my mother and me. Unfortunately, she kicked me down and stepped on my face with her high-heeled shoe. Laughing radiantly, she said, "This is karma. All because your mother shamelessly interfered in our love." The sharp heel of her shoe painfully pressed into my face, and some onlookers, spurred by her words, spat at me and cursed me for being shameless. She told me she would forgive my mother if I knelt before her, and I did kneel. Her laughter grew even louder. She held her son by her side, both shaking with amusement. The innocent, bland face of her son nearly made me sick. Now, it's my turn to collect some interest. I took my female bodyguard, carrying a photo of her and my father, and asked from the entrance all the way to their villa. Their door was wide open. The woman who once flaunted her power in front of my mother and me was watering the garden with her son. Everything seemed peacefully timeless. Auntie Wan Ling. Wan Ling was stunned at first sight of me, and seeing the crowd of gossiping women behind me, panic spread across her face. TSK, I'd always wondered why her husband was hardly ever home. She had the nerve to tell me he was busy flying around because he's an important company executive. Turns out she's just a shameless mistress. One woman said, "She looks so gentle on the surface. Who would have thought she was like this behind closed doors?" It's really eye-opening. Appearances are deceiving. Who knows whether she's a person or a ghost behind that facade? People with such poor character, we didn't know before, but let's avoid her from now on to protect our children. Their comments snapped Wan Ling back to reality. She pretended not to recognize me and repeatedly said I had the wrong person, lying through her teeth. But no one believed her since I had shown everyone the photo. The harsh words of these women grew louder, and in her embarrassment and anger, she shouted at us to leave immediately. I wiped away my tears and began to plead with her. "Auntie Wan Ling, please don't let my dad divorce my mom, okay? If you leave my dad, I can give you as much money as you want. You like Dad's money, right? I even have a lot of New Year's money." With a crash, I smashed the piggy bank I was holding, scattering 1 and 5 jiao coins everywhere. I picked them up one by one, placing a handful in her hands. The disdain from the surrounding crowd grew louder. Her son Yuan Shao rushed at me to hit me, but I grabbed his ear, causing him pain. Wan Ling tried to help, but my bodyguards held her back. I cried and cursed, scratching and pinching as I lost control in my fury, brutally clinging to Yuan Shao and beating him. "It's all your fault my dad left us. You took my dad away. It's all your fault." As a girl who developed early, I was much stronger than the shorter Yuan Shao, who was no match for my attacks. He wasn't my brother, he was a devil, born with original sin. He and his shameless mother took everything from my mother and me and then insanely retaliated against us. To improve Wan Ling's image, the increasingly sensible Yuan Shao spent money to spread rumors at my school, claiming my mom broke up their family, leading to my dad's death. He even encouraged girls to lock me in the bathroom, tear up my textbooks and homework, frame me for cheating on exams, and had people throw slop on me on my way home. He was rotten from the start, and I wouldn't let him off just because he was still a child. When my father arrived, Yuan Shao was already bruised and disheveled. Wan Ling, holding her son, cried pitifully while my father raised his hand to hit me. My bodyguards shielded me, watching my father warily, ready to restrain him if he struck. Peeking through the gap between them, I straightened my neck at my father. If you want to end up in jail again, go ahead, hit me, come on, kill me. You knocked out 2 of my teeth last time, you want to hit me again, don't you? I was just trying to protect our family. What did I do wrong? How could you shamelessly flirt with others? I must have been incredibly unlucky to end up with a father like you. There were too many onlookers, forming a tight circle around us. They were all talking at once, berating Wanling and my father for being shameless. Now, they pointed fingers and whispered about my father and Wanling. My words enraged him so much that he clutched his chest, swayed, and finally collapsed in the garden. I never expected my father to be so intolerant of stress that he would faint like that. Immediately, I cried out as I called for an ambulance. When the ambulance arrived, Wanling tried to bring her bruised son with us to the hospital, but I forcefully pushed her away. My father's anger led to a series of adverse reactions. His cancer cells had spread even more severely. The doctor said that without immediate surgery, he might not survive the month. If he underwent surgery right away, there was a 30% chance of success. Even if successful, at most, he could live only another year or so. When my father woke up and saw me, he tried to scold me but was sharply slapped by my mother. "Since you're already bedridden, just stay calm," she said. My father was furious, but he was too weak to walk a few steps without gasping for air. No match for my mother. I held him down on the bed and relayed the doctor's words to him, asking for his opinion. I don't know if he had undergone surgery in a past life, but regardless, he died not long after. My father looked defeated. It was clear he was very upset, but what did that have to do with my mother and me? Whatever he chose, death was inevitable. He eventually opted for the surgery. I wasn't surprised. For someone as afraid of dying as he was, he wouldn't pass up even the slightest chance at life. My grandmother died early, and now he only had my mother and me as his immediate family. My mother signed the surgery consent form. He requested to see Wanling and Yuan Shao before the surgery, but my mother flatly refused. He also tried to contact them by phone, but unfortunately, my mother had confiscated his mobile. He cursed and smashed everything in the hospital room. I grabbed my mother's hand. "Since Dad wishes to see them, let them come." My mother was confused. She found the mother and son repulsive, but seeing my insistence, she agreed. Wanling brought Yuan Shao to the hospital, throwing herself on my father and sobbing heavily. Coincidentally, the doctor came in for rounds just then. I took the initiative to introduce Wanling and her son, facing everyone's stares. Wanling's pale and awkward face turned extremely embarrassed, especially since her son with my father didn't look much younger than me. My father also looked terrible. He had built up his dignity over many years, and it had almost completely eroded away during this time. With tears in my eyes, I pleaded with the doctor. "Although what Dad did was inexcusable, I don't want him to die. Please save him, doctors." My father turned pale. This was a complete mess. After the doctor left, my mother contacted some mid to high level executives from the company to visit my father. Wanling tried to leave with Yuan Shao but was stopped by the female bodyguards my mother had arranged. "Since Dad wanted you to see him, then have a good look," my mother said. Once the company people left, more visitors came, including Dad's classmates from various stages of his life. My mother, whether she knew them or not, tried to contact everyone. Group after group visited, and each time my mother introduced them thoughtfully. My father was stripped of his dignity. This was social death if there ever was such a thing. Wanling didn't fare much better, and her son Yuan Shao just sulked in a corner, silent. My mother sipped quietly from her thermos. "We still have some distant relatives back in our hometown. If you like, I can invite them too. Tomorrow you can also ask Wanling to bring the child over." Dad feebly sent Wanling and her son away. Dad finally calmed down. The wait for the surgery was long and torturous. Perhaps Dad was bored, or perhaps he was being fanciful, but he grasped my hand and pleaded earnestly. Yeah, Xiao Xiao is your biological brother, and Dad's only son. He is the root of our Yuan family. Can't you treat him well?" I frowned, not realizing until then how deeply ingrained his preference for sons over daughters was. I pulled out 2 teeth from my pocket that he had knocked out earlier, shook them in front of him, and asked, "Do you think that's possible?" Dad, furious and embarrassed, retorted, "Which parents don't discipline their children? I have already been very good to you. Look at our hometown. Which girl has a life as good as yours? Don't be ungrateful for the blessings you have." His words truly disgusted me. "Dad, I think you're shameless, relying on Grandpa's support to start a business, fooling around with other women while Mom was pregnant, and your illegitimate child is only half a year younger than me. Now that you're dying, you're trying to trick mom into leaving everything for your illegitimate child. You say you've been good to me, but I haven't felt it at all. You pride yourself on being high quality and high class, but your mind is full of feudal remnants and petty thoughts. Wanting to take all the good things from mom for your son outside. I've never seen an older man more despicable than you. Someone like you probably deserves to go to hell. Dad's hand trembled as he pointed at me. I slapped his hand away. What did you teach me before? Pointing fingers at others shows no class. You. He stuttered without finishing. I was tired of his stuttering and stuffed an unpeeled apple into his mouth. Shut up, scoundrel. He still wanted to brainwash me into treating his illegitimate son well. He really was overly confident in himself. If I didn't have the memories of my past life, I might have actually believed his nonsense. Finally, the day of the surgery arrived. He was wheeled into the operating room. Mom and I waited outside the operating room. Maybe because I already knew his fate from my past life, I wasn't nervous at all. I even felt a secret sense of anticipation. Unexpectedly, Wanling also came with Yuanshao. I stood up, and Yuanshao quickly hid behind Wanling. I scoffed lightly. Coward. Mom glanced at Wanling expressionlessly and didn't say a word. Wanling smiled awkwardly as she approached. Sister Chiwen, I came to see old Yuan. Mom treated her like air, not sparing her another glance. From morning until afternoon, the light outside the operating room finally changed. Shortly after, the doctors walked out. The leading doctor's face very serious. His eyes filled with pity as he looked at my mom and me. Say whatever you need to say to him soon. A wail erupted behind me. Turning around, I saw Wanling squatting on the ground, crying loudly. Dad's surgery had failed, and he was wheeled back to his room. The doctors said he didn't have much time left and advised us to prepare for the end. Dad's face was deathly pale, a shadow of death hanging over him. Seeing Wanling and Yuanshao, a surprising brightness flashed in his eyes. Xiao. I slammed the hospital room door shut. Still Xiao, just wait for death. We moved Dad back to his original room, and Mom began methodically arranging his final affairs. Even in his presence, she decided on the number of wreaths needed and the type of urn to use. Every time I remembered the tragedy of Mom and me in my last life, seeing Dad now in such a wretched state brought me relief. Now during the summer break, I had plenty of time to spend with Dad. I stayed by his hospital bed. Chattering about home matters, Wanling and her son came again, but Mom sent them away. Do you know what kind of life she's leading now? In that neighborhood you arranged for her, she's shunned by everyone, like a street rat. She wanted to move out, but unfortunately, her mother had frozen all the assets in your name, so her supplementary card was definitely unusable. Once the funeral arrangements for you are settled and mother has some free time, she plans to sue to recover every penny you spend on her. Whatever she has spent, mother will make sure she pays it all back. Dad stared at me intently, his voice hoarse. Xiao. On the brink of death, he still thought about his illegitimate child outside. I couldn't help but scoff. Do you think everything is settled just because you made a will? It's not even certain whether your will is legally valid. Everyone says an illegitimate child has the right to inherit. But who can prove that Yuanshao is your biological child? Do you think you can rest easy just because you did a paternity test in secret? Mom consulted a lawyer, and that test you did is worthless. Mom has already arranged everything for your funeral, and without her and my permission, Wanling will have no chance to do a legal paternity test for Yuanshao. Yuanshao and Wanling won't get a dime from us. Dad's whole body convulsed and shook for a while before he gradually calmed down. His eyes were filled with hatred. If looks could kill, I would have died thousands of times under his piercing gaze. What did we do wrong? We just didn't want someone else to take what rightfully belongs to us. If only Dad had a bit of conscience in his previous life and hadn't been so scheming towards Mom, we wouldn't have ended up so miserably. He is the real culprit for our plight. I met his gaze. Just wait and see. Dad passed away that very midnight. He did not live an easy life in his final days. I think if I hadn't upset him, he might have lived a day or two longer. I admit, I did it intentionally. I didn't want him to pass away comfortably. Why should he get away scot-free after all he did to hurt Mom and me? I just wouldn't let him have his way. I wanted him to be unable to let go of Wanling and her son even in death. Mom methodically arranged his funeral. After returning from the crematorium, we were approached by Wanling and her son. Knowing that Dad had passed away, Wanling and her son were devastated. I'm not sure how much of their grief was genuine, but without Dad to support them, there must be some sincerity. Mom didn't stop them. They participated in Dad's funeral from start to finish. Once Dad's affairs were settled, the issue of inheritance came up. Wan Ling claimed that Yuan Shao was Dad's biological son and entitled to inherit his assets. Unfortunately, without proof, her claims were baseless. And Mom and I didn't acknowledge them. Dad was already ash. It wasn't possible to dig up his urn for a paternity test with Yuan Shao. Not only could she not get the so-called inheritance, but she also had to return the money previously spent on them. Mom unapologetically submitted the evidence she had collected. Every penny Dad spent on them was part of the joint property he shared with Mom, and Wan Ling was obligated to return that money, starting with the villa in Wan Ling's name, followed by large bank transfers, the gold and luxury items Dad bought for her. The evidence was laid out one by one, and it wasn't something Wan Ling could simply deny as a voluntary gift. Confused and overwhelmed, Wan Ling sought guidance and, unbelievably, brought a family mediation TV program to confront Mom and me. She tearfully portrayed Mom as heartless on camera, accusing her of ruthlessly pursuing them after Dad's death. She naively thought she could sway public opinion to pressure Mom and me into submission. Did she think everyone was as morally twisted as her to sympathize with her, exposing her most disgraceful side to the public? She was the first person I had ever seen do something like this. Who doesn't know how to garner sympathy, especially since Mom and I were the actual victims? Mom, holding back tears, told the mediator about her struggles. Yaya is only half a year older than that child. They've been under my watch for so many years. I never left the factory even during my confinement. In the early days, there was so much to handle: finances, procurement, customer service, vehicle scheduling. I was behind it all. On the first day out of confinement, I rode an electric scooter to deal with taxes, and on the way back, I got caught in a heavy rain. To save a bit of taxi money, I waited with my child under a bridge until it was dark. Starting a business was incredibly hard, and these were all true experiences of Mom. As she spoke, her eyes also welled up with tears. Mom had poured her heart and soul into building her success. Wan Ling only saw her mother's public successes but failed to see the sacrifices she made behind the scenes. While her mother was tirelessly working for their factory, her father managed to find time to engage in affairs. It's hard not to feel outraged by this. Her mother was merely protecting her lawful property, which was perfectly reasonable. Wan Ling later claimed she too was deceived by her father, having had no idea he was already married. Considering he started his business in his 30s, was somewhat successful, good-looking, and often absent, why would she assume he was single? Everyone knew better. Such excuses might fool children but not adults. Her denials appeared extremely weak on camera. She pleaded with her mother to consider her father's role in their lives and not to be so merciless towards her and her son. We were already so wealthy. She didn't ask for her son Yuan Shao to inherit her father's wealth, just a small share from her mother, which would hardly impact us. She spoke eloquently, making herself sound very pitiful. Unfortunately, the decision was up to her mother, not the mediators or photographers. After discussing the past, her mother then presented evidence of the money her father had spent on Wan Ling before his death. Millions on a villa handed over as a gift, luxury cars worth tens to hundreds of thousands were placed one after another, and tens of millions spent on her altogether. Even Yuan Zhao's elite school fees were dozens of times more expensive than my elementary school. Their life was far more indulgent than mine and my mother's. This mediation show had no effect on Wan Ling. In fact, it brought her a barrage of criticism. Gossip mongers even tracked down her social media accounts. Each post showcased her lavish lifestyle, flaunting mansions, luxury cars, and jewelry. She shopped at high-end stores whenever she felt down and took spontaneous trips, flying to Tokyo for sashimi one day and feeding pigeons in London the next. Her online persona was that of a pampered lady who had everything. Her flaunting gained her thousands of followers, many of whom envied her lifestyle. The stark contrast in her public image attracted endless criticism, and numerous netizens flooded her account with derogatory comments. Perhaps unable to withstand the online backlash, Wan Ling soon deleted all her posts and set her account to private. I only checked in on them occasionally, feeling pleased to know they were not doing well. After a prolonged court case lasting over 6 months, she had to return the villa, all luxury vehicles, jewelry, and other luxury goods. The money already spent had to be repaid within a specified timeframe. My mother sold the villa at a reduced price. The buyers evicted them from the villa. Yuan Shao could no longer afford his elite school and soon had to transfer to an ordinary private elementary school. Wan Ling, who had always lived off her father's money, had no job or any other source of income, used to a lavish lifestyle. The little money she had was hardly enough, they became homeless. Due to her failure to repay the borrowed money, Wan Ling was declared a defaulter. Having lived a life of luxury without any practical skills, she was incapable of supporting herself. During a cold winter, Wan Ling, dressed thinly, came to our house with Yuan Shao, crying and begging for my mother's forgiveness. I stepped forward, bypassing my mother, and offered her money if she would kneel to my mother. Hesitating briefly, Wan Ling knelt down with Yuan Shao, my mother. Taken aback by her actual kneeling, quickly avoided her. Such is the difference between people. No matter what, my mother wouldn't stoop to humiliating a woman without limits. I pulled out a card from my pocket and threw it to Wan Ling. There's 50,000 yuan in here, go change Yuan Zhao's surname. Back then, 50,000 yuan would have been trivial to her, but times had changed, and now, that amount was a fortune to her. She changed Yuan Zhao's registration, took a photo, and sent it to us. I made a point to take the photo to my father's grave and burned it for him to see. Whether he could see it or not, if he could, it would probably shock him once again. Just before he died, he still manipulated the situation for his son at the expense of me and my mother. Now, with just 50,000 yuan, Wan Ling didn't hesitate to change her son's surname. I pleaded with my mother to change her surname as well. It was a final break from my father, a complete severance from our past life. Later on, my mother mentioned she had seen Wan Ling at several parties. She still maintained that subtle, delicate demeanor, constantly surrounded by different men. As she aged and lost her charm, she ended up running a small stall to sustain herself. As for Yuan Shao, he grew up engaging in petty thefts and could never shake off his bad habits, leading to several stints in and out of trouble. At the age of 18, he got into a serious altercation that left him handicapped, with one hand severed and both eyes blinded, effectively rendering him disabled. My mother and I didn't pursue their complete destruction. Their lives were merely as such.